Welcome to Mordheim Fanatics, the podcast that digs up Wordstone in the heart of the Empire's nightmare, the City of the Damned. I'm Josh, joined as always, well, mostly always, by Alex and Andrew. No Gomo tonight. He's over in the US. How's everyone going, guys?
I was watching you then. I'm like, after last night, I was just like, yep, he's trying so hard. That was good, Josh.
So
that was
hard.
Good.
I landed it. Be more professional.
No, that was good. Good job.
Alex, the last night's episode, I started doing the wrong intro. I did like the 6 Cent podcast intro to the Old World Fanatics. I just completely fucked it. And then I said I was Gomo.
That's the problem.
And it just it just ruined it. Completely ruined it.
You is it Ron Burgundy who like always reads from the teleprompter? So like, you're like, it must have said on there, oh, hi, I'm Gomo. You're like, hello, I'm Gomo. I'm Ron Burgundy.
That's exactly what it felt like, man. I got that sentence. I was like, wait, well, hold on. I'm Josh, not Gomo. Anyway, he's not here tonight. Just us three guys.
Mm-hmm.
Really could get into some Mordheim proper chat with the three of us, right? Very excited. You've had Castle Assault, which we were all at, unfortunately, playing slightly different system in the end. Oh, Alex, I couldn't resist.
The show was there. It was so good. It looked so good. I was just like,
the tables looked amazing.
Yeah,
it really looked really cool.
I think the biggest thing, I think with any game system at the end of the day, I think first and foremost, if you have really nice looking tables, like it really lifts the event overall. So, I guess that was kind of, one of the main things was being able to rustle up enough terrain that we could have a functional event, but also have it look really cool. And a lot of people brought their own terrain along, which was helpful. And Kendall, I felt really bad because Kendall actually made about 5 tables worth of terrain, which was like,
right.
He like 3D printed all this stuff and then painted it. Yeah. And he went to like quite a length to do it. And I'd sort of already reached out to heaps of people saying, look, we're going to need a bit of community help with this terrain, because the last thing I wanted to do was turn up on the weekend and realize that we were a couple of tables short or whatever. So we couldn't be 100% sure how much terrain we'd have, because obviously some people say, oh, yeah, I'll bring some terrain. And then you just can't guarantee that it's going to happen, because they might forget, or they might realize they can't fit it all in their car or whatever it is. So I kind of just said, look, if you've got terrain and you can bring it, please do. And we ended up with like lots of people bringing terrain, and then Kendall had made 5 tables worth and we only used 1 table of his. But I felt bad because I'd already asked all these other people to bring terrain. So it's like, I don't want to be like, nah, I don't need it now. Like, sorry. But
So Kendall painted 5 tables as well.
Yeah. So he 3D printed all this stuff and it looked really good, and sort of painted the whole lot of it. I mean, in hindsight, I probably could have just not used my terrain and just put Kendall's stuff down. But anyway, whatever.
You had to use the best terrain at the time. Gotta respect the game. No, I get that fear. Having run the 6 End event in CanCon, which similar thing in that you're not like a local. You have to go up to do it. You sort of don't have much control over what you can what's actually there. It is terrifying. So over better to have too much terrain than not enough.
Yeah, I mean I don't know if you guys. I don't know if you guys were. Did you guys play a lot of like the 8th Ed tournaments back in the day, back in like kind of 2010 to 2015?
Yeah. Castle.
Well, there was
CanCon was I went to like 3 of the 3-day CanCons. The 8th Ed ones.
Yeah. So there was definitely a CanCon that I went to where somehow, I'm not quite sure what happened, but somehow that they didn't have enough terrain, and there were certain tables that were set up with literally like a bit of cardboard that said forest. And like, or like, something that had been printed out that like was like a flat version of it was like looking at a forest from up above, but then they just cut that out of cardboard and put it on. And it's like, man, I've come down here for the weekend. I've like paid for all this accommodation and, you know, driven down here, like paid like to be here, and on a table with a flat piece of cardboard as a forest. Like, so, you know.
Yeah, okay. I must admit, I never saw, like, so for me, when I went to CanCon, it was my second ever Warhammer tournament. So I was so overwhelmed by the whole thing that I even if that was the case, I wouldn't have noticed. It was just, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I done one day, and that was it.
Yeah. It's funny. I was there one year. With my sister and her partner. So my sister and my brother-in-law were living down in Canberra for a while, and I was down there for CanCon, and I was like, oh, come and meet me at the venue and we'll grab lunch and whatever. And then they turned up, and then I was like, oh, let me show you like what's going on at the convention. And my brother-in-law, we were walking around, and we walked past, the Ninth Age. They had, and I'm not throwing shade at Ninth Age or anything, but like,
I feel like there's some shade coming.
Well, it was quite clear that the event was somewhat poorly organized, and it was like, literally, it was all just flat, like cardboard cutout stuff.
Is it the neoprene? They do that quite a bit, Ninth Age.
No, it wasn't even that. It was just like, here's a bare table with like a thing that just says hill and a thing that just says. Okay. And I was like, anyway, and my brother-in-law goes, oh, this game doesn't seem very good. Like, they don't even have real terrain. And I was like,
So anyway, I feel like we're stereotyping a bit. I'm sure they don't do that anymore, right? I'm sure they don't do it anymore. That was years ago. I don't know. I didn't really. Actually, I must admit that their tables, because they had some tables at Castle, didn't they?
They did. They had Ninth Age going.
Let's take the shade off a little bit and go.
So
okay, they're right. Yeah.
I am recalling I'm pretty sure the Ninth Age event was next to the Mordheim event at Castle Salt, and the tables look fine. Like, there was no
toilet entrance. Not it implies anything.
But they were
had nothing to do with it. Just bad luck, bad positioning.
But those tables look good.
Or convenient positioning, depending on how much beer you're having.
Maybe the assumption was that they were going to be drinking more, So full bladders. But anyway, no, they had nice terrain. It was just, there was definitely one year at CanCon, and I think this was kind of early days. 8th Ed had been like deleted from everyone's memory, and then it was like maybe the year after that when, like, and for whatever reason, I guess they just didn't have a lot of terrain available to them. But it was just funny that like literally someone that I had brought to the event just to have a look around was like, oh, that game doesn't look very attractive. And I was like, yeah, dude, I know, I feel the same way. But like, anyway.
I mean, it does speak to how, the aesthetics of the game, and this goes for all of our tabletop games. It's often what has drawn us into it in the first place. Is just seeing a tabletop that looks really cool. The troops, the terrain, and the terrain is just as important as a well-painted army for attracting new people in, right?
Yeah, I'd rather play on a table with really cool terrain, even if the terrain's a bit impractical, versus like the sort of practical. I mean, 40K is guilty of this as well, where they just have like these box. It's like, here's an L-shaped ruin, but like they duplicate it, and it's like the same ruin on every single table and the same setup, and it's just like, and they go, well, it's fair, and everyone's got a fair. And it's like, okay, but it's
quite stale. Yeah,
it's just kind of like it's cookie cutter. That's how I feel about it.
It is.
But
it is, because it means your deployment's almost always like you just have a set deployment almost.
Yeah.
And it becomes a bit sport-like almost, like it's just a strategy, and it doesn't feel in the same organic way as, because the inference is we're supposed to be this, we're doing battle kind of thing, and it's always going to be different. And you kind of adapt to your surroundings like a real battle. I fully agree.
Yeah. So, like, obviously coming back to Mordheim though, but like I was a little bit.
We should probably talk about Mordheim at some point.
Yeah, we should. But I was a little bit worried about not having enough terrain, and then everyone brought terrain, which was awesome. And then Kendall had made up all this terrain, so we ended up having more than what we needed, which was like kind of a luxury situation to have. So that was a good starting point. Like, had enough terrain so the event could run.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And you had what, 22 players, was it?
We had 22 signed
Yeah.
up. One person dropped out on the Friday night, like just texted me on the Friday saying, look, something's come up on the weekend. I can't make it. So fair enough. And then one person didn't make it along to the Sunday. So for the majority of the weekend, we had 20 players, which is good turnout. So pretty happy with that.
Was that an alcohol related injury on the Sunday?
It may have been. It may have been. Okay. I just got a message on the Sunday morning saying, "Oh, I'm a bit crook. I'm not coming in." So, all right. So, I don't need to ask any more questions.
That's it.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, because that's interesting, because there would have been odd numbers then one of those days, right? So the Saturday would have been 21.
Maybe. I mean, I played. I was quite happy to just wander around, take photos, help out with any rules questions, all of that sort of stuff. But I played probably about 5 games over the weekend, so I was kind of filling the gap, you know. And even on the Sunday, because it was very casual, and the whole the whole format for the event was you just play whoever you want, play when you want, play however many games you want. So there were, I think we probably, by the Sunday afternoon when we did presentations and stuff, there was maybe about 15, 16 people left. So some people did kind of pack it in midway through the Sunday, and, you know, maybe they had a longer drive or whatever. Like I know one person had to drive back to Canberra, so they kind of played one game on the Sunday morning and then headed off after that. So right. So like not everyone made it through to like the end of the event, but there weren't really any issues with odd numbers, because if we had an odd number, I would just kind of not play, and if we had an even or if someone needed the game, I would just play them. So it was easy.
Well, yeah, I guess that's my question was because it's a sort of very free form sort of environment. Like there's been no particular round time, so that type of thing. It doesn't sound like it really mattered too much having it on.
Yeah, you just get a pickup game in between. It seems.
Well, exactly. It was great. And for me running the event, it was pretty like low stress, because you're not. Like, you know, I've run enough Warhammer events to know, like, you're always chasing people for score sheets, and then you're trying to get, oh my God, I got to get this round started now. And, we've just started lunch 10 minutes late. And so, you know, okay, round 3 begins now. And then someone hasn't come back from their break. And like, there's all this stuff where you're kind of trying to herd cats a lot of the time. This was just really casual. So you were never worried about the only one time when I kind of had to corral people was like on the Saturday afternoon. We did like a mini game thing, which was like a kind of basically 16 people put their themselves forward, and I put everyone's names in a hat and then drew the names out, and they had to face up, like what they'd pick one model from their warband to face off against one model from someone else's warband. And then,
that's awesome.
So it was like a knockout. It was like a knockout thing. So you had like, 16, and then you had 8 people left, and then their names went back in the hat, and then you had four people. Yeah, exactly. And there was a prize and a trophy for the person that won that, and then there was a reward, like your model would automatically get a level up, like to the next level, so they would get like some bonuses and stuff. But that was like I kind of had to corral people to, like, as I said, guys, if you want to be in that, like, stick around till 4:00, and then I kind of had to get people to like go, right, guys, give me 10 minutes of your time, like dice down for the moment. We're going to do this little mini game. So some people were like, some people had finished their games for the afternoon and weren't going to play again. And other people were kind of sort of halfway through a game. And I was like, I just need 10 minutes of your time. And they were like, sweet. So like,
cool.
Yeah.
So I did wonder how you would get everyone free at the same time with rounds.
But I just planned it. I just planned it for the end of the Saturday. Yeah. I just went end of the Saturday. At least that way, most people shouldn't be like midway through a game. And yeah, it worked out pretty good.
And I heard that a certain Hollis's Hobbit did pretty well.
Yeah, well, yeah. So Andrew Hollis, who runs the Mordheim Australia event, which you and I both attended.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's very well known in the Australian gaming community for some of the events that he runs down in Canberra. But
we've had him on the Old World Fanatics.
That's right. You have
earlier this year. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So he had a halfling. He put a halfling forward, and I can't remember off the top of my head whether he had like a whole halfling warband or whether that was like one dude from the warband. But he put this halfling forward, and the halfling like beat the snot out of 3 different people, and then made it to the final. And then it lost to the Skaven Eshin Adept in the final. Which was pretty funny, but even that was epic. Like both of them were swinging at each other. Yeah, there was about 5 rounds of combat between the halfling and a Skaven. Like,
I was picturing the halfling just got.
No. It was close. It was really close. Yeah. It was.
Was there some skills the halfling had that was keeping him alive, like in a way? Or is this all just luck?
Well, I mean, a lot of
the Hobbit making his own luck.
Yeah, I mean, I think. From memory, I think he had a skill. There's a skill that lets you like dodge an attack on a 5+. So like they hit, they wound, and then you basically just get like an extra save, and it's like you can't
5-up ward almost.
It's basically a 5-up ward. The idea is that the guy is quite nimble and he's able to like dodge.
Yeah,
and like the halfling kept rolling the 5+. So he just was like impervious to harm for a little while there until his luck ran out eventually. So yeah.
We do have a question I'll pop up. This is from Mark in the little chat. It's a question for Alex. Had he thought about going to Italy to play the Mordheim Championship this last weekend?
I'm not going to lie. It crossed my mind.
Did you get a ticket for that? Oh, it did?
Well, I'll give you some background. So I saw that being advertised on the like worldwide Mordheim Facebook group. And there was like all these pictures of like, it just looked insane. Like they even held the event in a castle. Like it was held in an old castle. And then like they showed all these photos of like the tables all set up, and it looked absolutely like next level. Like, even the terrain that we had for Castle Assault was good. This terrain was like absolutely put anything that we did to shame. But yeah, so I saw that and then saw the date for it, and they were saying, oh, people can buy tickets and rah, rah, rah. I've got the somewhat lucky situation here where my wife works for an airline, so I can do staff travel, which is kind of a bit, it makes it pretty easy to jump on a plane and go somewhere. And I actually did think about doing it, but basically because I'm already going to be doing that next month and going to Las Vegas for a weekend, so I was like, it's probably a bit much trying to do that 2 months in a row.
I didn't realize they had a big Mordheim convention in Las Vegas as well.
They don't. No, it's a concert. It's a concert, but no. But
which concert?
It's called When We Were Young. It's like all the old kind of punk rock bands. Right. Yeah,
I thought you were going to come out and be like a Swiftie or something. But
no. It was like all those bands that were big in like the kind of 90s through to the kind of mid 2000s. They all basically turn up on the same weekend and do this massive gig. So, yeah. That's so sweet. Good times.
Yeah,
nice. Oh yeah, he's actually Alex. If you seriously consider it, let me know. As a couple of my friends have gone, and it'd be cool to meet up. One of them, Sucrozo, won the best painted warband in the Lustrious Side event. Oh, they must. That's right, because they've got all the different terrain boards and stuff, don't they?
Yeah. Like, put it this way, like I wouldn't rule out like doing that at some point. I don't know if they're gonna
That'd be pretty insane.
run it every year or whatnot, but I mean, I know the Italians have a pretty big Mordheim scene because I keep seeing like on these Mordheim Facebook groups, the Italians always or people with Italian sounding names, I should say, keep like putting up all these really cool like photos of stuff. So it leads me to believe that Mordheim is at the very least it's big in Europe.
You're right. Now you say it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that is a theme.
And I don't mean to make assumptions, and I apologize if hopefully I'm not offending anybody, but I'm just saying like I'm guessing that Mordheim is either quite big in Italy or I think it's pretty big in Europe in general, to be quite honest with you.
It must. I suspect that's the case. Yeah,
because
I'm not half Italian, so like I'll give you permission to say whatever you want. So don't feel like being racist at all. I've given you the pass.
All right, I'll gleefully accept the pass, and I'll take it. Thank you.
But no, that sounds really really good. So you reckon like Italy, obviously maybe some of France and Spain, I'm guessing, because they all seem to be, and Germany, quite large in the just Warhammer in general, aren't they? So I'm assuming that they're the, and then obviously Poland, I'm guessing, they got a pretty big Mordheim scene, I'm guessing as well.
Well, I don't. I'm just making educated guesses because there's a lot of people with. I'm going to broaden the net a bit here, but there's like a lot of people with very European sounding names posting a lot of stuff and being like, "Oh,
okay." So it's a bit hard to drill down to exactly where it's.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I get. Look, people do say, "Oh, here's the event we had in, this place that sounds like it's probably in this part of the world." And here's this event we ran last weekend in Bologna, and here's an event we ran in blah 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 blah. So it's like there's all these different places. So it seems to me like there's Mordheim events that pop up pretty frequently in Europe, from what I can tell. It's one of those things where like
Italy's quite a big center for that.
Oh yeah, it's one of these things where like, I'd love to just like be able to live in Europe for like a year or two and just do all the kind of like just duck over to another country for a weekend and play a wargaming event and then just come back and like all that kind of zigzagging around that they get to do. It's pretty cool.
That would be so cool. There's so many things about being close to Europe that would be exciting, and certainly one of them would be the easy availability of playing Warhammer in lots of different communities. All the other tourist stuff, sure, but mainly we got to play Warhammer.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I feel like there's like such a big saturation of Warhammer in Europe. You could just, I don't think it'd be an outrageous thing to say that like if you lived, let's say, in Central Europe or in the UK, you could potentially attend a wargaming event like every weekend. Like there would be a decent sized event on somewhere, right? Or somewhere that you could get to that it wouldn't be like unreasonable that you could get to it, So
do you reckon it's still nerdy in Europe? Like it's still just nerds that play it? I'm assuming.
I've got no idea.
Like I'm a nerd as well. We're all nerds.
Wait, definition. Wait, you guys are nerds. I'm not.
I'm not a nerd.
What are you talking about?
Get me off this podcast.
I'm the cool one.
Have I been playing with nerds for 20 years? What? Isn't this a cool hobby? I thought this was cool this whole time.
Big closet nerds. They're all in the closet.
There's definitely people that are in denial that like I remember in high school, I think there was definitely a period of time where I would be like, okay, I'd be at school and like not mention wargaming to anybody, right?
Yeah.
I'd like not mention wargaming to anyone. It would just be a complete. I'd like compartmentalize it and like never like bring it up or say anything at school because I wanted to be cool. And then like on the weekends, I'd have my little wargaming group, like all my mates, all my buddies that we just played gaming together, and then we just completely nerd out over the weekend, and then go back to school and like pretend that like. That was just like never like because like you don't want to be like overheard. You don't want a girl. You don't want a girl overhearing like, oh, I was playing Warhammer on the weekend, and some girl's like, you play that game? What? Like I wouldn't want to like, you know what I mean? So yeah. But I sorry, side story, and I know I'm digressing on this, but I remember when I was
already digressing, but go for it.
I know. I remember when I was a teenager and like having a bunch of people over for a party, and it was like, just like a garden party sort of a thing. And then I don't know, like people went and like used the bathroom in the house, and then like people were like, oh, we like went into the wrong room and it must have been your bedroom. Oh, what were those things? What were those models that were on your table? And I was like, oh my God, like it's like my secret's out there now. So I had people being like, oh, like
it's not the worst thing you'd find in a bedroom, but I'm sure
I guess so. But like I had to sort of swiftly like change the topic and don't worry, it's a project.
The models probably distracted them from all the drug paraphernalia that you had strewed across the floor or something, just
that would have been less embarrassing, I think. But anyway.
Okay. Now, so mainly for this episode, I should really go. We actually want to talk about scenarios. I feel like that's a fairly good because the first episode was sort of an intro on how the game works and that kind of thing. Last episode was all about warbands, and we spent I think we spent like a good 2 hours talking about how to build a warband, what are the pros and cons, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But it would be good to really hit the scenarios. And you also made use of some really cool scenarios at Castle as well. So I am keen to hear, what your opinion is. First, all the stuff in the books, and we could probably go through it in reasonable detail.
Yep.
Just how they work, pros and cons. Are they well designed? Are there any typical house rules for each one? But then also, hit the some of the more interesting sort of town criers or customized ones that you've hit in Castle as well.
Yeah, so the typical way to play a campaign is that each time you turn up to play a game, you roll on a table, and I'm using the original Mordheim book here.
Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. So page 126, and there's a scenario table, and you basically just roll 2d6 and then have a look at what scenario you're going to be playing, and that's a good thing. Like, you should always be using these scenarios. I mean, if you just want to play the kind of standard skirmish over and over again, which is basically just I fight you and we just fight until someone loses the game, that's fine. But it is a lot more fun when there's like different objectives in play. So like generally speaking, you would play a campaign using these scenarios. And then what I wanted to do with the event was throw in like an extra element to it, which was setting up some of the tables with specific scenarios in mind. And those scenarios were completely optional. They were ones that were pulled from, like, I went and found some scenarios from the Old Town Crier magazines, which are all available on the broheim.net website. And then, so I basically just found a bunch of other scenarios that I thought were going to be cool and interesting, and set up some of the tables so that basically you could play those scenarios specifically. It wasn't as if people had to. It was just like, hey, it's set up for you. Some of the scenarios required extra models to be used, which I'd provided. So I got Frank to do the donkey work for me, and basically he printed off, like 3D printed some extra models. He painted up a Banshee because there was a scenario where there was a Banshee that chases you around. There was a scenario where you have to kill a werewolf. So that was like another model that he did. There was a scenario where you had to basically try and pillage like a wagon, like a bunch of wagons that had to, like, one warband was trying to pillage it and the other warband was trying to defend. So he supplied the wagon. So we had like a bunch of extra models that were specific to different scenarios. And I kind of got Frank and one or two other people to help out with those. That was cool. So
would Frank have been quite as generous with doing those models for you if you knew you were going to call it donkey work? Is that how you asked him?
No. Yeah, well, he did. Yeah, there you go. There's like some wagons that he already had those made up anyway. Those were for, like, because Frank and I have played a lot of Warhammer Skirmish, and we've used those for like the Warhammer Skirmish scenarios. But yeah, basically, those ones were already done, so we didn't have to do anything for those wagons to exist. But there was a bunch of other models that he sort of got together. But I'm going to call it donkey work now. Because he's already done it. He can't take it back now. It's already done.
Can't take it back now. It's all.
Can I? One thing that I think needs to be mentioned before we kind of go into the specifics of it. Have you got the file? Have you got the file there with the Mordheim achievements on it? Because I basically did a part of the
bingo thing.
That's right. Because the way so the way I'd set up this event was that there was no prize for like winning all your games or having the strongest warband or anything like that. That was not the objective. The objective was to basically that there were 3 trophies given out at the end, which were for the 3 people that did the best at the bingo card. And there's 25 different achievements on there, and every player was given a stamp. So basically, during the game, if one of these achievements happens, then your opponent stamps the bingo card for you. So then, and at the end of the event, you just count up how many of these you achieved. So one of these, for example, was right in the middle: play one or more of the special scenarios. In fact, I
Yeah,
managed, annoyingly, I didn't realize this until midway through the event. I managed to double that one up. So I managed to put that on 2 of the tiles, which is really irritating, and it annoyed me for the whole weekend when I found out. But yeah, that was
That's
one of
almost
them.
like a trick. Like, how many people got to the end of the weekend having? Oh, there's the other one. Yeah, having only had one of them stamped, but not realizing there was 2.
Well, when I realized that, I just did an announcement and said, "Look, if you play 2 special scenarios, you get to stamp it twice. Like, just treat each of those as being like each time you play a special scenario, you can stamp it basically."
Oh yeah, no, okay, that's a fair way of doing it. Actually, that's almost
but
like
also some of the other achievements in here did encourage that as well. Like you can see on the left there, it says "kill the thing in the woods." That was like you could only achieve that one if you played the thing in the woods scenario, and then if you managed to actually kill the werewolf. So yeah, there were a few things like that were in play where it was really designed around getting people to have a bit of fun with those extra scenarios as well. But you could probably see like that bingo card is all about, like, the thing with Mordheim is if you take it too seriously, you're really missing the point of it. And the whole idea with the bingo card was like it would encourage people to do silly stuff and do thematic things, but it would also encourage people to just, if something bad happened to your warband or one of your models, you actually got rewarded for it. So, there's one in here which is it's like, if your leader rolls, it's on top right there, your leader rolls the dead result on the injury table, and then in brackets extra prize for the first person this happens to. And I did an announcement like right at the beginning before any game started, and I said, guys, if you're the first person this happens to, please tell me. And I said, I can absolutely guarantee someone will roll the dead result on the first game. And sure as anything, someone immediately after the first game, when their leader got taken out of action, dead straight away.
Straight up dead. Wow.
Yeah. So that person earned a spot prize. So I had like a whole bag full of like lucky spot prizes and stuff.
Yeah.
And people got to choose some spot prizes. So there was a bunch of things like that just to keep it fun and keep it flowing,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things on here that, they're just themed out. I mean, I like how you balance it because, it's not just that's on there. There's also keep a hero in your warband with 3 or more permanent injuries. You got a roll the multiple injuries result, followed by 6 for the number of injuries.
Yep.
Oh my god!
I think one person managed to do that.
So one person did manage to do that. I mean, there's good stuff in here as well. It's not all just bad.
Well, there's quirky. There's real quirky stuff. It's kind of really cool.
Charge,
there's one
sword. There's stuff you can just do it if you decide to do it. There's stuff that be quite hard to do unless you get lucky.
Yeah.
My favorite one, bottom right, roll the sold to the pitch result on the injury table, and then so basically your guy gets sold into the pits and has to fight the pit fighter. And then it's like if you manage to defeat the pit fighter, you then get that particular achievement. And guess who did it? Guess who did it? First game. It wasn't me.
Not Frank.
Frank did it. Dr. Vupatal, his character, he got sold to the pits, and he literally pulled out a pistol and he shot the pit fighter in the face and won the battle against the pit fighter.
The donkey versus the pit fighter. Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, that gives you.
That's pretty hard to do, isn't it? Like the pit fighter is.
The pit fighter basically has the stat line of the pit fighter is equivalent to most people's it's equivalent to your warband leader once you've played 6 or 7 games when you've got a lot more equipment and a lot more attacks. So the pit fighter is automatically from the get-go better than most of the models in the game. So it's pretty hard to beat the pit fighter. So but we even printed out, and once again this was Frank that did this, but he printed out a little gladiatorial pit,
little arena.
So whenever someone rolled the soul to the pits result, we pulled that out, and they had to. I think there's definitely a picture of the arena in there somewhere in all the pictures I sent.
In the pit.
Yeah. So anyway, if you want, we can go into the scenarios if that's going to be.
I think I've got it. Number 4. I will just pull up the pit photo because I think I found it. Hold on, just give me 1 second.
That's the pit. So that was
That is
Doctor
so
Who.
good.
That was Frank's guy that ended up having to fight the pit fighter in there, and he beat him. Well done.
He shot him.
Yeah, he just I challenge you to a duel. So, yeah, good on him.
Before we hit the scenarios, there's one other question I had for you, which is just about the house rules that you had in play there. I mean, so a lot of them were similar to Mordheim Australis, which I assume worked okay. But the one where you could pick the skill, but you could only use it once for your warband.
Yep.
How did that play out? Like, are you pretty happy with the?
Yeah, I mean,
the dynamic that created.
I'm kind of going off the fact that no one came to me with any kind of negative feedback about it. Like, no one was, people weren't coming up at the end of the thing and going, "Oh, that was the best rule ever." Like, but people also, no one was saying,
no one ever does that.
I guess not. I don't know. I mean,
you always dream as a TO. You're like, oh, I wish people would come up and go, that's the best tournament I've ever been to.
Look, I mean, to be honest, and I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, but I got a lot of people coming up saying it was a great event and they really enjoyed it, and that was the most important thing. I think
that's what you want.
I don't think that rule would be a game breaker anyway, because if anything, I mean, put it this way, the rule that they did for the Mordheim Australis event was a more restrictive version, where basically you would go, I'll get a skill from the strength skill list or the speed skill list, but then you had to roll a dice and it was randomized, and you'd often end up with one that wasn't really one you wanted. And I think there were, like, I rolled up a couple of skills on that one when I played at that event, and I was like, well, I just kind of wasted the skill because I didn't really want that one. So this felt like a kind of happy medium where you weren't just going to get the same combos popping up all the time, but you also had a degree of freedom because the player still got to choose what skill they wanted to get. So, and I thought it was good because people did pick some of the slightly like left field ones. People were choosing them because they were like, well, this is a skill that I normally, or I haven't used before, because I'm used to always picking the same combos all the time. And then they're like, well, I'm going to use this one now. And then I think people were kind of picking some interesting ones. So
it brings up it makes you have some really hard choices, because, you've got your favorite skills there or your whatever builds you want, but you can only pick it the one time. So you have to be very selective about who you give those skills to. So it's those sort of, that old hard choice dynamic, which can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with that. So that's good to hear that in practice, because I heard about that in theory. I was like, oh, that sounds like pretty good, but I hadn't really seen it used. So that sounds...
I mean, I did play. I played 5 games, and obviously was using that house rule, and I thought it was good because I'd look at the skill list and go, okay, I don't want to pick, like, sometimes the most obvious option is one that I would prefer to save for like another model. So I'm like, well, I'd rather my leader get that one. So this henchman, I'm not going to give him that one, because once he's got it, the leader's not going to be able to get it. So I would be kind of picking some of the more alternative options. I think it was good, but it's up to whoever's running an event. They can do whatever they want. But I thought if I was going to run the event again tomorrow, I'd use the same set of rules. I actually don't think I'd change it, to be honest.
It sounds like it works really well. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, just trying to get some feedback about that, so that, because I feel like people always, like, different organizers always have the freedom to do whatever they like, but the more things get trialed with, and if it works, having that positive feedback around it, I think it helps to create like a more consistent sort of awareness in the community of what house rules do work and don't, and maybe it will create more of a consistent approach across sort of the local scene, which, not the worst thing. I mean, not saying people can't experiment as well, but also when you find stuff that does work, it's like, okay, well, this should be on the list of, if you're a TO, having that as an option in mind, as something to look at running. Because I think Australis at CanCon next year, I think, looking at Holz's pack, it's very similar now to your pack. So I think
I lifted most of it from him in the first place. So
I know.
So I'd say
you're building on
used,
each other's,
yeah,
which I really love. That's I guess
Well,
that's what
yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I reckon I used, like, if you looked at my pack in its entirety, I probably used about 75% of the stuff that Andrew already used. So like he kind of did the groundwork on a lot of that, and then I kind of went, well, I like most of that, I'm going to use it, and I tweaked a couple of bits and then added my own flavor to it, which is the bingo cards and the the set extra scenarios, because I don't think that was at at Mordheim Australia. So like having those extra scenarios and doing like the spot prizes and stuff was kind of a thing I wanted to incorporate. But like, as I said, most of what, probably 75% of it was from his pack. And then, like I'd have to go back over his pack for next year again, but I'm signed up for that event. Like I'm definitely going to go to it. But yeah, I think from memory, it's pretty similar to what it was last year. And yeah, I haven't really looked at specifically whether he's incorporated anything that I was doing or not, but
I'm pretty sure he's incorporated the skills thing. I'm pretty sure
that's
incorporated that. So that's what I'm saying. Like he's actually, he's building on what you're done, and you're taking most of what he used, which is great, which is very healthy. And I wouldn't be surprised if he also does use more of that scenario thing for the table, because he did have that a bit. I remember he had like a jousting table that had a specific thing where most of the warband couldn't interact except for like one or two guys or something like that from memory. So he had a few random scenarios. Most of them weren't, but he was sort of dabbling with that a bit. So I wonder if he will see how it worked at Castle, because he was at Castle as well, wasn't he? He was.
Yeah. And I'm actually really glad that he was there, because I thought like he's kind of the person I want to impress. I mean, I want to impress everyone that's there, but like, because he's like kind of the guy in like the Australian Mordheim scene, as far as like, he's put a heap of effort into running those events down in Canberra. So for me, it was kind of like, if Andrew Hollis thinks it's a good event and he's impressed by it, then I'm doing something right. So, and he seemed pretty happy with the event, and I was really happy that he was there, and I think he had a pretty good time. So
it's happening.
That's right. Well, that was definitely one of my initiatives, I guess, that I wanted to just make it a bit like, just tweak it for just kind of my own things that I wanted to put in, was that little arena of, I was calling it the Arena of Death, but I need to probably come up with a more creative name. But the thing on the Saturday Arvo where people would like, get their names drawn out and stuff. Like I thought that was fun. So
I reckon that's awesome. Yeah.
I kind of treat that as like a little mini game. Something that I've got in the back of my mind that I would love to do at some point would be, like, depending on the event and depending on venue access and all that sort of stuff, is like maybe do an evening game where it's like a like a kind of like a labyrinth sort of thing, and everyone gets to have a model in there, and you have to go around and take other people out and avoid booby traps, and there's like creatures and things. Like there'd be some almost like an RPG element to it.
This is totally fun.
It'd be cool because you could kind of be like, oh, hey, everyone has sent a member of their warband into that, has heard about some treasure in the catacombs. So like they've been able to get, one member of the warband has been able to get into the catacombs, and hang on, there's heaps of other people down here, and there's all this stuff going on, and it's
big race.
This hallway is cursed, and this hallway has a booby trap, and this one has a monster, and this one has a pit that you can fall into. Like, make it like, have it so that it's like you're kind of almost like the Hunger Games, like you're trying to good. So I don't know. I'd have to.
So much fun.
I might like float that kind of idea to Andrew and see if he, depending on, like, once again, it depends on the event and like how you could make it work. But if you had a table where you had something like that, and I know one of the guys that was at the event at Castle Salt did have a table like that he was telling me about. We weren't able to roll it out on the weekend because I couldn't really. We already had all these tables set up, and I didn't want to tell people to pack their stuff away and put this other table on. But there was, that idea has been in my head since then. It'd be fun to make that like the kind of, hey guys, here's the kind of Saturday evening event that we're like, that's kind of part of your ticket. If you want to do it, great. If you don't, totally fine. But kind of more just like beer and pretzels, roll some dice, kind of try and take out your mates, that kind of a thing. So
Yeah, no,
So,
that would be.
That sounds awesome.
yeah.
The first little
Incredible.
mini game you had, like the little competition, the tiered one, like you just, I don't know, you tweaked my the little memory from like I think it was fifth ed in White Dwarf. They had like all the fantasy lords all battled each other out, and then it went up to, I think it was Archaon came out on top, and it was just like full just tweaked some like little
Is that in the White
nerd
Dwarf?
memory from that back in the day.
That's pretty cool. You know where I stole that from? That idea actually came from an old, like, kind of, I don't know if you'd call it a battle report, but this old article that was on the Games Workshop website. I don't even think it was in White Dwarf, but it was in like the mid 2000s during 6th edition. Yeah. And they had all these people that worked at the studio and that were part of like the White Dwarf team. They all painted up a vampire, and then they all tooled them up with whatever they wanted, and then they had to fight. It was like that. They got pulled out of names pulled out of a hat, and they all had to fight another vampire. And they had this thing where they all had to knock each other out, and there was like 20 of them, and they went and then like ended up with a final. I remember as a kid, I discovered it on the Games Workshop website and was like, "This is really cool." And then anyway, and that for some reason has like kind of was just this idea that stuck with me, and I was like, oh, it'd be fun to do that with Mordheim. So yeah.
Like I feel like Mordheim's such an appropriate game for that kind of thing. Like, because I was thinking, like, when you were describing that, I'm like, I feel like it wouldn't work out as well in fantasy. But I guess only if you were to do that, like, select a certain archetype of hero and then maybe you can play it out like that.
Well,
but
part of
Mordheim is so diverse, but it could still work because a lot of the power levels are. I mean, they are, but they're also sort of quite random too because there's so few dice involved. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, there was nobody. The one rule I put in place for that was you couldn't put a model forward that had more than one wound, because I didn't want someone being like, I didn't want someone being like, here's my Minotaur against your Skaven. So like the idea was that you could put your warband leader forward, or you could put a henchman, or you could put whatever, but as long as they had one wound, because at least that kind of like even a crappy guy can like roll well enough and take you out of action that way. Whereas if you've got 2 or 3 wounds, it's like it's really hard for like you could almost bank on those models winning almost every time. But there was some funny stuff. Like one guy picked a direwolf because the direwolf would be, if the direwolf gets the charge, because you had to roll off to see who like kind of had the charge, so like whose combat round it was, and the direwolf on the charge gets 2 strength 4 attacks, which is better than like most models. So it was kind of like, so that was quite a clever move, and I hadn't really thought that anyone would pick like a war beast. But also the funniest one I saw was the Skaven that ended up winning the whole thing took on the Sisters of Battle. I think it was like the matriarch or one of the characters, and it went on and on and on, because like it'd be like, all right, I've hit you, and then it's like, oh, I need a 6 to parry. 6, yeah, all right, and then it's like, all right, well, I'm going to hit you back. Great, all right, well, I'm going to use my my shield. I've got a 6+ armor save. 6+, yeah, and then like they both kept rolling a 6, like to either parry or get the armor save, and it was just like, it was like tit for tat, and then eventually like someone managed to sneak a wound through and actually take out the other one out of action. So that was really fun. So anyway, should we talk about scenarios? Sorry.
Sure.
I'm terrible. I'm like,
let's do it. No. It's been good though. This has actually been Mordheim chat on topic. So even though it's wandering, it's still great. Still great. I feel we should hit the main rulebook ones first, and then
for sure.
Then hit then we can see the more interesting ones, how they play off, I guess, the archetypes. How many are there? There 9 here. They're in the main rulebook.
Yep.
What are they? How are they ordered?
They're ordered in a weird way.
Particularly.
No, it's really strange the way they're ordered. But yeah, there's 9 scenarios, and then when you roll the 2d6, as you can see there, if you roll a 2 or a 12, then one of the players gets to choose the scenario.
Ah, the lower warband rating. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Oh.
Which is good.
I guess they just ran out of the results.
So, shall we start with scenario number 1? Defend the find.
Sure. Let's. I guess we just go.
We'll just go.
Aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, they're quite short. Oh yeah, because there's no real. Oh, some of them are. Okay,
Yep.
right.
Most of them are pretty short, and for the most part, like with the majority of these, you're going to find that like ending the game. Ending the game is like usually the part that can be different because there's a certain like objective you're trying to achieve or a certain thing that you need to do for the game to actually end. But it's also quite possible in most of these, if you fail a route test, the game ends anyway. So quite often, aside from like get this objective, you also have the possibility of being able to route the opposing warband as well.
Yeah.
So we'll start with defend the find.
That's always an option, isn't it? Like these scenarios, like
I think so. Yeah, in most of them, yeah. I'd have to have a look. You'll also notice that. Yeah, you'll also notice that in some instances, like because it always gives you a list of how you can earn experience from that scenario, and in almost every single one, you're going to have any hero or henchman group survives the battle, they gain +1 experience. The winning leader of the scenario gets +1 experience, and +1. Any hero earns +1 experience for any enemy that they put out of action. That is pretty much the same across all these scenarios, but then some of them, there are other additional ways for you to earn experience on top of that. So you could pretty much expect that those three. Yeah, you can expect that those
three are always there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So in a lot of these, by the way, it kind of gives you this thing of like each player takes in turns to place a piece of terrain, blah, 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 until the board is filled. Like when you're playing an event, it's not really worth doing that because you've got all these tables set up. It's not worth spending 20 minutes or something with people trying to place terrain. I just said, like, don't bother. Just leave it there. Like you're not really gaining any real advantage. Just like if the terrain's already there and if you want to shuffle it around, that's fine. But, I don't see much point in like placing the terrain that way unless you're playing just a one-off game. So, yeah. All right, defend the find. You've basically got one warband is defending a building that's in the middle of the board, and it's because they've found something in the building. So they found a treasure chest, or they found some loot or some weird stone. And the other warband picks a table edge, and you have to be deployed within 6 inches of any table edge, but it specifically says you can actually split your warband up. So you can have your warband. You can have if you're the attacker. If you're the attacker, you could have all your warband across one table edge, or you could like have some of them on this table edge and some of them coming from that way. I've played this one a few times. I played it down at the Canberra event, Mordheim Australis, and it was fun because I was like, right, well, I want the defender to have to commit to fighting me on like multiple fronts. So I had I sort of split my warband up and had guys coming on from like all 4 different angles, which was cool.
Yeah, okay.
Basically, the attacker is trying to get to end the game. If at the end of the defender's turn, the attacker has more standing models within 6 inches of the objective than the defender, then the attacker wins. So if you're attacking, so you're the one that's coming on from the table edge, you're trying to get more of your models within 6 inches of that central building to what the defender has.
Yeah.
Because the defender has to be smart about not. If you're the defender and you run across the board to fight the attacker, you're going to leave the building unguarded, and then if the attacker can get models near there, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And basically, whoever's inside the objective building at the end of the game earns an additional shard of weirdstone. So you can basically get models in there and get more weirdstone out of the building at the end of the game. I've played this before and it was good. There's definitely there's a fine line for the defender of like, okay, do I just stick around the building and be really defensive and just try and like force the attacker to make the play? Or do I push forward and sort of try and deal with the attacker before they get to me? And when I played this last time, the defender made the mistake of like he sort of committed most of his warband to one part of the board, and then I kind of snuck some guys around from the other angle and got in there and managed to take the building. So
yes, nice.
So that happens. But but it's a good scenario. It's quite tactical.
I mean, it seems like it's relatively evenly sort of designed. Like it's an asymmetric scenario, which is interesting. But I don't think either side would necessarily have an advantage, really.
Not really. There's a couple here where one side definitely gets an advantage, and there's one particular one that, like, I think has got a few problems in that sense. But and you'll also notice with a lot of these scenarios, it's not as simple as like you line your warband up over here and I line my warband up over here. There's like some of them have got some very creative deployments. So scenario 2.
Shall we hit the skirmish?
Now skirmish.
So this is the most common outcome, isn't it? Because this is number 7 on the table.
Correct. This is like the closest thing you're going to get to a pitch battle. Because it's basically just like, okay, your warband lines up on this side, my warband lines up on that side, and then we try and take each other out of action until someone routs, or until someone voluntarily routs and therefore concedes the game. So pretty simple, really. You're just trying to take the enemy models out of action and force them to take route tests, or force them to feel like they have to voluntarily route, I guess. But pretty simple, that one.
Yeah, so that's really, nothing else really special about it really at all, is there? Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Number 3?
Weirdstone Hunt.
Oh, this is this is a bit more going on here.
Yeah. Well, this one's fairly straightforward as well, but you're basically doing so pretty much once the terrain's all set up, you roll D3 and then +1, and that's how many Weirdstone shards are like on the table. And then you basically take it in turns to place the shards on different parts. This is the one that we played, Josh.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not what I played. Yeah.
And remember, you had like a Bretonian guy run up to the top of a tower to collect a bit of Weirdstone. And I had guys
the entire game.
Like trying to climb up a wall.
You were trying to use your ropes and you kept failing your ropes. It was great.
I had like one dude who like didn't know how to use a rope properly and like kept flubbing the test. So
flubbing the reroll.
That's it, exactly. Pretty much this one's straightforward. It's basically you're just trying to like fight the other warband and also collect as much Weirdstone as you can, and you gain extra experience points for like how many Weirdstone shards you get, which is pretty good. So if you have a hero that manages to collect 1 or 2 Weirdstone shards, then like they're going to gain extra experience. And I remember when we were playing, when we played it, Josh, I think from memory, one of my guys already had a Weirdstone shard, and then you had some guy who was getting bashed up by a couple of guys, and I was like, "Ooh, I want his bit of Weirdstone too." So I charged in there to try and get like a second one, and your guy just took my guy out of action straight away.
Oh, it was so funny. You just try to just miss all your attacks, and then just like bonk. Just lose your other shard.
It was so annoying. So like, not only did he not get the second shard, he then was out of action and lost the shard that he was carrying. So that was super annoying. But so that one's fun. That one's basically a skirmish, but with like, there's also some bits of Weirdstone that you can collect through the game as well.
Well, it is, because the counters, you can place them down. So it says like each player takes a turn to place a counter. And they've got to be sort of in the central of the board, I guess, at least more than 10 inches from the edge of the table and 6 inches from each other. Yeah, they can put anywhere. So I think we were putting ours like up in the top of buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's quite a bit of strategy with that.
I think to make it fun. I don't
know where the deployment zones are as well before, like, is that's right? We put the tokens down, and then you roll off to see who deploys first.
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't want to just be like, if you put the tokens all in a certain part of the board and then your opponent wins the deployment roll, then they can deploy near the tokens and you might be left across the board not being able to get the tokens. So you've got to kind of, it does kind of force you to do it in an even sort of a way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's some thought in that design. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's a great scenario. It's just simple. It really just builds on what you're doing with a skirmish scenario without anything overly complicated involved. So
like, because the ending's just the route test, isn't it? Yeah, it's
exactly.
Doesn't end it the other way. Yeah, cool. Okay. Shall we number 4? Breakthrough.
Breakthrough. This one can get a bit skewed depending on which warbands are fighting each other, but you've basically got an attacker and a defender. The attacker sets up within 8 inches of a table edge, and then the defender you can put anywhere on the table as long as none of your models are within 14 inches of the attacker. So the defenders can be spread out across the table in different positions. Now, the attacker basically needs to get the attacker needs to get across the board and get 2 of their models to within 2 inches of the opposite table edge. And if they do that, they've achieved the breakthrough and they've managed to like escape off the other. It's essentially like the defender is trying to sort of not let the attacker get through their line. Yeah, basically. This one, I think, like if you've played it a couple of times, there's a pretty clear strategy to it, which is in my opinion, like any fast models are really, really good with this. Like something like a dire wolf, or I had my witch hunters. You've got the little warhounds, which are like movement 6, so you can march move 12, and like within a few turns they can get right across the board. And what I find is, I mean, whenever I've played this, I've always tried to sneak some guys down the flank. So I kind of send my warband forward and get stuck into like the defender's warband, and like they start fighting, and then I see if I can get a couple of guys like run off down the flank, hopefully like get past them, like, because obviously getting down the middle is harder because there's probably going to be more models in the middle. So the defender has to be clever, because you can't. A lot of this game revolves around kind of tying people up in combat if you can do it. The defender, I've seen people like if you have like say a warband with a few guys with like bows and crossbows and stuff, it's very tempting to put them in the top of a tower, but then if you don't roll really well for your shooting, which and the attacker can obviously hide guys behind terrain and whatnot. If you've got a guy at the top of a tower, it makes it really hard to react. If that attacking model is like about to break through, you need guys on the ground to actually be able to get in their way and kind of block them off. So you, as the defender, it's actually a good idea to have models on the ground level, even if you've got a guy who might normally be more of a shooting guy, you sort of need him to be there. Like if an attacking model gets through, you need models that can intercept them and kind of get in their way and fight them in combat, and you know what I mean. So So that's right. I think, in my opinion, the attacker maybe has the advantage in this one, but it really depends. Like I had the luck of playing this one. The last time I played this was against the dwarf warband, and I was the attacker. And the dwarves obviously don't move that quick, so I was like, I kind of sent a few of my guys forward to like basically just get into a big brawl with the dwarves. And then I just sent some guys running off, like sprinting down the side, trying to like in a football match when you've got like someone runs off down the wing and like they're right up against the sideline. I had guys like right on the board edge, just like trying to sneak down the side while everyone else was fighting. So, the dwarves had a pretty hard time being able to cover the board the way that
Just to clarify a couple of things. So in the defend the hold one, it was the warband with the fewest members is automatically the defender. There doesn't appear to be a rule about who's which in this scenario. Is there? Like, do you just roll off to see who's the attacker, who's the defender, typically? Or
it basically just says, you roll a dice. Whoever scores higher decides which table edge the attacker sets up on, and then the attacker sets up first within 8 inches. So I think you're just saying, if you roll highest, you get to go. Okay, well, I think you're just nominating who's the attacker, and you say you've got to deploy on that side. Or you might say I'm going to be the attacker and I'm going to deploy here. So
right. That makes sense.
The extra experience you can get through this one is any warrior earns +1 experience for breaking through the enemy lines. So even if it's a henchman, which is pretty good.
So cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty advantageous. To some extent, in a way, you want to win this game. If you're the attacker, you want to win this game, but you want the right models getting across the board. Like, there's not that much point in a zombie getting to the other side because the zombie can't gain any experience. You want your models that are actually going to benefit from that experience are the ones you want to actually get to the other end. So,
that's interesting. So, well, then that makes me question the usefulness of using warhounds and that type of thing because they're really fast, right?
So what I did, right? I had a couple of warhounds that ran. Experience. Well, what they did was they ran up and I deliberately didn't put them within 2 of the board edge. I put them behind a building, but like right up near the board edge. So if I wanted to end the game, I could just run them onto the board edge and that would be it. But the idea was that they were kind of almost sitting there.
Insurance policy.
Exactly.
Just in case.
Exactly, in case. But then really what I wanted to do was get like a couple of my heroes off the board, which is like if things turned sour, like, okay, if I start losing too many models and I think what ended up happening was I think I got one of my witch hunters across the board and he got off the board and one of the and at that point it was turning into a bit of a brawl in the middle and I was like, oh God, I don't want to end up with like half my warband getting like just pummeled. So I ended up like one witch hunter made it across and then there was one warhound and he got there too. So it was like, okay, well at least I got one of my like important guys across. So there's definitely more reward in it for the attacker. Unfortunately, the defender doesn't get any reward for like the winning leader does get +1, but essentially the attacker has like the potential of getting 2 models across the board and getting like extra experience. So if you win the roll off, you probably want to be the attacker because there's more reward for being the attacker. So
unless you're dwarves, I guess.
I guess so.
Can you actually move models off the edge of the table? Is that how it's supposed to work?
It just says if the attacker manages to move 2 or more standing warriors to within 2 inches of the defender's table edge. So they're just saying you've just got to get to within 2, but you might have one guy that sits there the whole like waiting for someone else to arrive, like that could happen.
Yeah.
So it's got to be standing models. I did have a really fun game with this a while ago against Luke, who's a friend of mine. He basically it was very cinematic because I had one model already there, like that had gotten across the board and had broken through, and I was waiting to get my second model like into that zone, and we got to the point where I think it was like one warhound just needed to march move, like to do a run move into the thing, and he had no models nearby that could stop it. But he had one dude who was like 28 inches away who had a crossbow who like needed a 6 to hit, and he went 6 and then rolled a critical wound and then took him out of action. And it was like, so from across the board, he's like lined him up and gone chunk, and like the warhound just gets like hit by a crossbow bolt and taken out just as he's about to get to the end. So it was like super cinematic because it was like the one opportunity he had to stop it from happening, and he managed to pull it off. So so it's cool. There's things like that where you get these cool little cinematic things going on. So
maybe doesn't get any extra experience for that, but cool. That's really cool. Interesting. What's the next one?
So next one is Street Fight. This one's crazy, man, because you basically, this is probably the most unique from a terrain perspective because it basically describes you've got to set up the terrain as if it was a street. So you've got to have like a row of buildings on either side, and you're not allowed to just wander off into other parts of the table. You're basically, your whole warband is confined to like being, you can either be, you can either be on the street or you can be like in the buildings, like on the side of the street, but you can't. So you're kind of only using like a kind of set part of the board. And the idea is in this one, you do need to actually get off the other side of the board. So you've got to basically get past the other warband who they're trying to do the same thing. So the two warbands naturally are going to meet midway down this street and have a big fight and try and like get past each other. So whoever can get ending the game, when one of the warbands manages to move all its remaining warriors out of the street via the opposing edge, the game ends and that player is victorious. Exactly. But there's a lot of reward for this because the first hero from either side, who exits via the opposing table edge gains +1 experience. So you're trying to be the first one to get someone off the other edge.
Oh yeah.
I will say as well, this one is really good if you want to do a 4-player game. It's really fun as a 4-player game because you can have
a 4-player game.
You could set it up like a crossroads.
A crossroads.
So, like,
oh, I'm so
like
hoping you're going to say this. A crossroads.
And each person starts in one corner, and you're kind of corralled into the middle, and everyone basically you're all trying to like cut your way through, like, and you've got to obviously pick. You might just go, right, I'm just going to try and get down this other street and just make a run for it.
Like the Anchorman street fight, where just like all the network guys are
coming. It's literally, that is perfect. It's like,
that is so good.
We're Channel 5 News, or it's like, we're Spanish, and then like Ben Stiller, we're Spanish News, or whatever he says.
What's all the Anchorman references going tonight?
I know there's a few Anchorman.
Wow, there you go. The moon's aligned.
What does Rick say? That he goes, I killed a man with a trident. Yeah, Brick. Things really got out of hand there. But yeah, it basically does turn into like the Anchorman channel wars in the center, and then you have to like just try and break through and get off to the other side. So that one can be really funny, but that one's super bloody because you can't avoid the fight in the middle. Like, it's going to happen. It's not a game where you can kind of, I'm going to hide in this corner and I'm going to send someone that way. You just basically have to go, right, the only way for me to actually achieve the objective is to go forwards and basically just try and get in there. Try and get them before they try and punch a hole in their warband before they do the same to me, and then like get up the other end. So
true to the names. Yes, street fight. That sounds
exactly.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun. That one's definitely fun. And as I said, good if you want to play with, like, say 4 players, because you can really set up a bit of an all-in kind of brawl going on. So
absolutely. I'm picturing some kind of junction where there's like 5 or 6 different streets all coming together, like just this complicated road system going on.
You could do that, yeah. I mean, it doesn't. I don't think it specifies that it has to be. It doesn't have to be like a straight, like, street. You could have it being like a bit windy and a bit zigzaggy.
Love to see that.
Yeah. Next one,
number 6, Chance Encounter.
Encounter. Cool. Yeah. So
I love the hand-drawn illustrations of this book, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a deployment zone.
Yeah. So this one's basically, it's pretty cool. So in this one, you basically, whoever wins the roll off chooses the deployment zone, and you're picking a quarter of the board.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yes,
that is amazing.
So you're picking the deployment zone. You can put your entire warband in the deployment zone wherever you want. The second warband would go in the deployment zone diagonally opposite, but you can't be within 14 inches of any enemy models. So naturally, if you win the roll off to deploy first, if you put a lot of your guys quite far forward in the deployment zone, then the second player is not going to be able to put all their stuff right up in your face. They're going to have to be a little bit further back. And it says here, each warband is carrying D3 shards of Weirdstone at the beginning of the battle. The game ends when one warband fails a route test. But at the end, both warbands gain all the Weirdstone that they were carrying at the beginning of the battle, minus the number of their heroes that were taken out of action during the game, down to a minimum of 0. So given that you start with D3, you don't really want to lose too many heroes in this one, because if you lose like 3 heroes, you immediately, that cancels out all the Weirdstone that you found. And ideally, you want to get out of the battle as much Weirdstone as you can. So,
But you get an extra one for taking out heroes as well. So there's a big risk reward there, isn't there?
Yeah,
like how does it play in practice? So do people tend to try to get that risk, or do people like try to sit on the Weirdstone they've got?
Like, I don't think it
pretty early.
I don't think it gets like. I don't think you need to overthink it all that much. Just like treat it as being, if I take out some of their models, I'm likely to finish with more Weirdstone than them. Like I wouldn't overthink it, but like you might get to a certain point where you go, right, well, I need to take out 1 or 2 more of their heroes to definitely be ahead or something.
Yeah.
So the key to getting more weirdstone at the end of the day, you're obviously going to get some weirdstone when you do your exploration at the end. So, but getting an extra 1 or 2 shards is like a really good insurance policy, because later on, if you've got a few shards of weirdstone sitting in your like warband treasury, then you can sell them at a later stage to get more money. So you always want to have a few extra weirdstone shards, because it just makes it so much easier to kind of keep your warband economy going.
Yeah.
So
in case disaster befalls. Yeah,
exactly.
Cool.
Let's grab another
I just
beer,
noticed. Yeah, I just noticed with this one, at the start of the game, you roll a d6 and add the initiative of the leader. Was that in the other ones? I don't remember seeing that.
I don't think so.
Happened to see it.
Yeah,
no,
I don't think so. So that's one where, like, for some reason they decided that was the way they wanted to do this one, which fair enough.
Yeah, just quite random to have. Yeah, because the next one, hidden treasure, no, just straight d6. Okay, maybe it's because about the deployment and the way it's like structured, that they're both sort of in those different squares, and then whoever sort of has a better initiative and spots the other warband, maybe that's why they decided like that as a thematic type thing. I don't know.
Yeah, or they've been able to maneuver their way through the rubble a bit better or something like that. Yeah.
Well, that's what I said. Yeah. So neither side was expecting a fight, and the warband that reacts the quickest has the advantage. So maybe that's why it's an initiative. Test. Yeah. All right. Oh, hidden treasure. Oh, okay.
So this one,
that's quite a paragraph. Right.
This one, I'll summarize it for you, right?
Yep.
This one has the potential to be the quickest game ever, or it can turn into like the most epic, like long, like it could turn out to be like a much longer game. But I have played this before where it was a 5-minute game, and there's not much that can be done about that sometimes. But essentially, what happens is both warbands are looking for a treasure chest, and the treasure chest is in a building. And on a normal size table, you're probably going to have, let's say, 8 to 10 buildings, like ruined buildings, and any kind of, to be honest, any like decent sized bit of ruin, like I'd kind of treat that as being like a building that can be searched. The idea is that anytime a model enters a building or a ruin, you roll 2d6 because they're searching for the treasure. Basically, anything but a double 6 means, okay, they've searched it and they haven't found anything. But then that building can't get searched again. What eventually happens is, once you get to the final building that hasn't been searched on the board, that building automatically contains the treasure chest. So you kind of get this thing going where both players are like sending their models into buildings and rolling the 2 dice to try and search it. And unless a double 6 comes up, you quite often end up with whichever building is the last one to be searched. You both know that the treasure is there, so both of you go for it. The reason that this game can sometimes end very quickly is because if someone gets lucky and rolls a double 6, like in the first building that they search, well, they probably just get the treasure chest and walk off because I think you've got to get it off the end of the board.
Right. Okay, you got to carry it.
Yeah. So there's basically carrying the chest will slow the warrior carrying it to half speed. 2 or more models may carry the chest without any penalty. You may yada yada yada. If a model's out of action, then the treasure chest is like placed at the spot where that model was. Any man-sized model can pick it up by moving into base contact with it. So pretty much, like I played against Frank one time with this, where it was like we set up the whole table, it was all great, and then literally he walks into a building that was like right next to where he started the game, rolled the double 6, and then just carried it off the board in the second turn, and it's just like, okay. I mean, but that's what can happen. I mean, in that situation, you basically just re-rack and play another game. But it can be a bit anticlimactic when that happens. There's quite a specific tactic that you can use with this though, where instead of just searching the first building that your warband is closest to, you deliberately fan out and search the surrounding buildings. And the idea is that once you've searched those other buildings, automatically the treasure is going to be in the one that hasn't been searched yet. So if you've left that, if that's one that's like really close to you and you've left it there, then you've got to you should be able to then later in the game just go in there and automatically get the treasure and then try and run off with it. I think what it does say is that buildings that are in your deployment zone have already been searched. So if there's a building that's already in the deployment zone, you're not going to be able to get the treasure from it. Yeah. So at least you do have to make you've got to move kind of towards the center of the board somehow to try and find it. But,
there it is. Yep.
Yeah. But I played this at the at Castle Assault and basically tried to do that exact thing where I kind of fanned out across the board and searched as many buildings as I could, but I deliberately left one that was right near, that was quite close to my board edge, because that way I knew that I'd be able to fall back on that being the one that I just left one of my models next to the building, so that when it was the right time, that guy could just jump in and then take the treasure away.
Another insurance policy.
Exactly. As you can see, I've played a lot of these scenarios a few times. But anyway, you do get a nice reward. You get +2 experience for the hero that ends up with the treasure chest. So you want it to be one of your heroes because that's going to be the biggest benefit to you. But then on top of that, you get to search the treasure chest at the end, and you could get you automatically get 3d6 gold. On a 5+, you get D3 pieces of weirdstone. On a 4+, you get a suit of light armor, which is great because it's normally very expensive. On a 3+, you get a sword. And on a 5+, you get D3 gems, which are each worth 10 gold crowns. So you're rolling for each of these things separately. So if you got really lucky, you could get all of those items. You could walk away with a whole stash of things. So
so you roll each dice. So you roll for the D3 Wodsword first on a 5-up. Then you roll for the suit of armor on a 4-up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Correct.
And then the sword. On a 3-up, and then the gems.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So it can be swingy because you could fail all of those and not get any, and really just get you could just get the 3d6 gold, which is not a bad reward anyway.
And you get 1, 1, and 2, and you end up with 4 gold coins.
It could happen.
Something nothing else.
Yeah, but chances are
Mordheim.
Exactly. Oh, City of the Damned. Yeah, I know. Imagine someone being like, it was the City of the Damned. I didn't even get anything from that treasure chest. But yeah, you could so easily just, I think on an average roll, you're probably going to end up with a couple of extra bits and pieces out of it. So
totally worth it. And you get to experience for the chest too. Oh, for finding it. So not even for successfully delivering it. That's just straight up for finding it.
Yeah, so just the person that finds it. So that's you can set this up so that a particular hero is likely to get that bonus. But I guess the other thing is there's always the possibility that your opponent walks into a building and rolls a double 6. So there's always that element of randomness where you're like, if I try and be too cute with this, if I try and play too strategically, my opponent could very well just roll a double 6 and nick the treasure chest, even though I'm trying to play it a certain way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So do you think that dynamic does sort of balance out the potential gaminess of leaving a building unexplored?
You can't. What you can't afford to do is you can't just kind of have your warband sit at the back of the board and not fight or not move forward, because if they do that, you're basically just giving your opponent the initiative to be able to search as many buildings as they want. Now, if your intent is to not really take any casualties and just not really kind of interact that much, you might just give up the chest and not really lose anything. But it's you kind of, once again, not really. Why are you playing Mordheim if you're going to do that? It just doesn't make any sense. There's other games you can play where go and play hardcore tournament Warhammer and turtle up in a corner and be all right, well, it's going to be a 10-10. That doesn't that's fine. But there's no point in playing Mordheim if you're just going to have your warband sit in the corner. So
just shake hands.
I would argue.
Yeah, or just roll
any more games doing that. But
or just
that's another topic.
But just like roll another scenario and play a different one if that's how you think you should be playing it. So So there's definitely incentive to kind of fan out across the board and try and get into as many buildings as you can. So there's that one.
All right, cool. Next one,
Occupy. This one's good. I think this is one of my favorites personally.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, same deal. You roll a d6 each, and whoever wins that, you get to deploy within 8 inches of a table edge, and the other person deploys within 8 inches of the opposite table edge. Basically, you roll at the beginning. You roll D3 plus 2, so you could get anywhere between 3 and 5 with D3 plus 2. The objective is to capture D3 plus 2 of the buildings on the tabletop. Mark these buildings, starting with the one closest to the center of the table and working your way outwards. So the idea is, let's say you roll 4, right? Like you roll a 2 plus 2.
So 2 plus 2, yep.
Exactly. If that happens, so you're basically going to have the 4 buildings that are the closest to the center of the board are going to be the ones that you need to capture. And to capture these buildings, sorry, just this door behind me is just opening.
But separate building, you have to have one of your standing models inside and no enemy models inside the building. Is that
exactly? Yeah. So the idea is you're trying to get a model into the building and then defend that building and not let your opponent get their models into there as well. So you end up with a lot of like one-on-one combats happening, like building to building, which is really cool. So I'll be like, right, someone's got their guys over there in that building. I've got to send someone in there to try and flush him out, So there's it's a game within a game, if that makes sense. You've kind of got you can't just sit there and go, oh, I've got this building, so I'm safe. You kind of have to go and kick them out of another building, because if they kick you out first, they can win the game. So in this game, this is one of the few ones where it says there is no need to take any route tests. The game lasts for a maximum of 8 turns. If one warband voluntarily routes, the game ends, and the winning warband is considered to occupy all the buildings. But basically, the idea is that you've got 8 turns. So you have to have more buildings to win the game. You need to control more buildings than your opponent does at the end of the 8 turns. So the reason they've done it that way is that you can't just play defensive. You have to basically be like, right, like, okay, we're up to turn 3. I've only got 5 more turns left where I have to try and get as many of the buildings as possible. So I have to go and kick them out of the building, and I've got to secure the buildings like for my warband, So it's fun. You end up with a lot of building, like, combats going on within buildings and on top of like up higher, because you could have a guy that sits at the top of a building and the enemy model has to run all the way up 2 or 3 floors to get to them to fight them and try and get rid of them. You know what I mean? So
right. So you can test these buildings, and I guess it really does bring in the whole structure dynamic of the 3-dimensionality of the terrain and stuff as well. Like it really maximizes the value of all that, doesn't it?
And that's already that's already very valuable in Mordheim anyway. But in this scenario, especially, like if you want to make yourself hard to dislodge from a building, you put that model at the top floor and make your opponent run up 3 different floors to get there, and then you try and fight them and like take them out of action or whatever. I think it's really fun. You do end up with some pretty like hairy combats where you're like, right, if I can literally take this one guy out of action, that will give me control of the building, and then I can win the game or whatever. But so often it doesn't pan out the way that you're trying to make it work. That one's good. There's
because you're counting down those turns too, right? So it's all about the end of the 8th turn.
Exactly. When the game's going to end. So you're on the clock all the time with that one. One thing I would mention with that is that there are some skills and bits of equipment that make this scenario easier. And I mean, I haven't gone too much into that with the other scenarios, but there are always going to be some skills and different things that you might take that are sort of advantageous in certain places. With this one, there's like a skill called Pit Fighter, which is like if you're fighting in a building or in a ruin, that model gains +1 attack and +1 weapon skill, which in Mordheim is such a big stats boost. Like it's probably going to mean you're hitting a lot of people on 3s, and it's probably going to mean you're fighting with 2 or 3 attacks, like, you know, against a lot of people. And it's really cool because you could be like, okay, well, I'm like, if you have that skill, this is the perfect scenario where that's going to become super relevant, because you're going to be, most of the time, you're going to be fighting inside a building or in a ruin, right? So really useful to have that. There's also a skill that gives you an extra attack when you're fighting against more than one model. So if your guy is like up against multiple combatants, he's able to, like, he gets extra attacks for fighting them. So you often get these situations where you've got one guy defending a building and 2 attackers from the other warband charge in there to try and stop you. Like, if you've got that skill, it actually makes you much better at like holding the building. Yeah. So there's different things like that to think about. Like, you're not always like taking a skill just for one scenario, but it certainly, I think, brings some of these skills into the forefront a little bit more when you do start thinking about it. So yeah.
Happy coincidence.
That's good advice, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
The final scenario in the rulebook, surprise attack.
Yeah. In my opinion, I've played this a few times. This one is the one that, unfortunately, I don't think is very well written, because you really
so we got to 9 scenarios. This is probably the first one that you've.
This is the only. Honestly, this is the only one
that seems conflicted. Right. Okay.
This is the only one that I think I don't really like, to be honest, because I think that it's so skewed in favor of the attacker. Like, I know that there's 1 or 2 others where the attack, like, you know, with that breakthrough scenario, like the attacker probably has a bit of an advantage, but it's not like, I don't think it's like
it's not breaking the scenario.
No, whereas this one, unfortunately, the attacker just has such an advantage over the defender. It's like it's a bit of, I would almost be in favor of, like, if you roll this scenario, just re-roll and like play a different scenario, because I just think it's just So pretty much what happens is you've got someone's the attacker. What have we got here? Yeah, so one warband is out searching the ruins of Mordheim for loot when it is attacked by an enemy warband. The defenders are spread thinly and must muster a defense quickly to drive off their attackers. Starting with the attacker, each player takes it in turn to place terrain, blah, blah, blah. So what happens here is, the idea is that the defensive warband is spread out over a wide area. They're kind of foraging, right? And the attackers have kind of shown up and like sort of attacked part of the warband while they're like not expecting it. So the defending player rolls a d6 for each hero and henchman group in their warband, in any order that he chooses. On a 1 to 3, they are elsewhere in the ruins and turn up later as reinforcements.
50-50.
Yeah, so on a 4 to 6, they're deployed at the start of the game. Note that at least 1 hero or henchman group will be present for the start. If all of them roll a 1 to 3, the last hero. Yeah. So, but what's really frustrating is you go, the defender deploys all their available heroes and henchmen on the table. No model may be close. Here's the other problem. No model may be closer than 8 inches to any other model, as the warband is spread out whilst they're searching the ruins. No model may be deployed closer than 8 to a table edge. So what it means is you've got, let's say half your warband ends up off the board, and the half that is on the board, they can't even be close. They can't even huddle close to each other for protection. They all end up like kind of spread out because they have to be at least 8 inches away from each other. And then the attacker deploys their whole warband from a random table edge. So you roll like, you know, a 1 is this table edge, 6 is this is the opposite. Yeah, there you go. So 1, 6, and then 2 or 3 is this side, 4 or 5 is that side. And the attacker always gets the first turn. And because the defender is going to be quite spread out with the way that it forces you to deploy, you basically just end up in a situation where the attacker gets to go first and pretty much gets the jump on you. And like, I played this down in the Canberra.
Going to like sacrifice somebody or something just to give
literally, that's exactly what happened. So literally, like, one of my guys the way it panned out was like I had maybe 5 guys on the board to start with, and then the rest of the warband was off the board. And I was up against a possessed warband that only had like 5 or 6 models in it, because he had 3 or 4 really powerful models, but like he was definitely more quality rather than quantity, if you know what I mean. And I like looking at that matchup at the beginning, I'm like, okay, well, he's got some really powerful models. However, I have the numbers, and if I can gang up on him, then that's how I can like win the game. But of course, we then rolled this scenario, and half my warband just wasn't even on the board, and it's like, okay, so now I don't even have that. And then, yeah, exactly. And the annoying thing was, I was like, the way that the deployment panned out, because of you can't have them close to each other, it was almost guaranteed that the possessed would get a free charge on like one of my models from the get-go, because they get to go first. So of course that's what happened. Like one of my models is kind of stranded by himself. He rolls whatever the result was and ends up on that side of the table. First turn, 4 of his guys just charge my one model and just kill him. And then it's like, from that point, it was just like I'm desperately trying to get my guys to kind of be able to kind of link back up with each other to sort of at least be able to defend themselves. And he's just going from model to model, just going, all right, well, I've got like 4 or 5 guys that can all gang up on this guy. And then now I'm going to gang up on this guy. And like, and then throughout the game, you're rolling, you've got to roll.
Yeah, I've seen this. So it's a 4 up.
Yeah.
And they move on a random table edge.
Yeah.
And all reinforcements that turn arrive from the same edge for that turn. And they can charge them they arrive. But
so the defender doesn't even have control over like when their models come onto the board and like which table edge it's going to be.
Where they come from.
So to be honest, like, excuse my French, but it's a bit of a shit show for the defender. You just have no control over anything.
There's no benefit for the defender at all.
No.
Like, even the scoring at the end, like, there's it doesn't seem like it's
if
weighted. Like if it was weighted with the scoring, as in like, you know, you get.
It would make sense if you could be like, right, okay, the defender gets extra experience for having, like, let's say 3 or whatever. I don't know. Like if they were able to, I don't even
like turn 6 or something and not be
exactly like give
that,
give them a reward for like being able to hang on and like desperately kind of keep their guys from just getting taken out. But it's just like there's just no benefit to the defender whatsoever. And if you're the defender, you're literally just in a world. You're in for a world of hurt. Like the only way that doesn't happen is if you were lucky enough as the defender to roll really well at the beginning and pretty much have your whole warband on the table, and you can kind of at that point. Even then, you're still at a disadvantage because your guys are really spread out and probably not really in the position you want them to be in. And the other person's warband pretty much can just go, right, I can just send my whole warband at like, the defender might have 1 or 2 models that are nearby and the attacker can just take them out really quickly. So unfortunately, I've got to say, of all, like the other 8 scenarios are fantastic and they're all fun and like fairly well-rounded. This one is just like, I don't know. It's just poorly written and there's no balance. And like the attacker probably wins this like 9 times out of 10, or maybe more than that. Like, 9.5 times out of 10. So yeah.
There is a question in the chat there. Forsaken asks, I read it as I think I agree with your reading of it. He's disputing whether with the reinforcements. Special rules. I read it as a 4-up. All missing guys come on together from a round table edge. When I read it, it looks like it's
it says here
each of his.
So it says the defender at the start of his second and subsequent turns may roll a d6 for each of his henchman groups or hero groups not yet on. So for each of his henchman groups or heroes not yet on the table. So you're rolling for each group of henchmen or each hero. So unfortunately, it's not as, it would be cool to be like, okay, well, my whole warband, like all of them turned up together. But like when I played this the last time around, it was like, I think 2 of my guys never came on the board. They were just off foraging forever and never came back. And then so I was basically playing it with 2 of my models that just never came on the board. And then the other guys that did come on the board, they would it's annoying is they'd either turn up on the board because it's random where they come from as well. So sometimes they turn up in the worst spot because they turn up like in the middle of, like they'll appear from a board edge that's right near the attackers anyway, and then you're in trouble. Or they turn up like on the opposite side of the board where they can't really get into the fight and actually do anything. Yeah. Or you might have a dude. You might have a dude who's got like, he's good at shooting, right? He's got a crossbow or he's got a good ranged attack, and he might get stuck like starting the game in a position that he doesn't want to be. But then, or you might have like a guy, like for example, when I did this last, my leader didn't start the game on the board, and he's the guy that had the better ballistic skill and had a crossbow and had like a couple of skills that were useful. But then he ended up coming on the board on like turn 4 and like from some opposite edge where it's like, well, I can't even do anything with him now. Like I can't even get him into a good position where he can actually shoot anybody. He has to kind of run across the board and try and rescue the rest of the warband who's just getting completely, getting beat to a pulp. So it's just like, so unfortunately,
I think also that last sentence where it says all reinforcements for that turn arrive the same table edge also implies there will be multiple turns of reinforcements arriving. So it's unfortunate though, because I feel like if it was everyone together, that would help.
Maybe.
I almost wonder too, the start of turn, the way they're attacking almost gets the automatic first turn. I wonder how much it would feel if it was actually the opposite, if the defender automatically got the first turn. I know thematically why they put it in as the attacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that would help things.
Yeah. I mean, it's called surprise attack, obviously, and the whole intention is that like the attacker gets the jump on you, but I don't know. There's just nothing in it for the defender. I just don't
there's nothing in it.
You don't get anything out of it. You don't get any extra experience. You don't gain anything for like surviving. You basically just have to accept the fact that like you're probably going to lose a couple of models pretty much in the first turn because they're kind of stuck out on their own. And then you're either lucky enough that your models turn up at the right time and from the right board edge and manage to come on and actually sort of come to the rescue. And then you might get a semi-even game once the rest of your warband turns up, or if they turn up at the right time, you might end up with like
a table edge.
But you're relying on all these other things happening for that to work. So like it's a shame because I just think they've come up with a bunch of really interesting and fun scenarios, and then this one just doesn't. It just, I don't know whether it was like they kind of rushed it or they didn't play test it enough. I'm not really sure what happened there, but it's a shame with that.
And it's on a 9, so it's a relatively, you got to see it. You got to generate it relatively commonly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just of the opinion that you roll again if you get this one.
Because the rest of them are really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They're all really well thought out.
Exactly. So anyway,
is there not a tweak for that, like internationally, that is not?
Oh, there might be. I haven't. Being honest, like I haven't really sort of looked into stuff that people are doing internationally, or I'm sure that someone's come up with some sort of I'd be willing to bet that someone's come up with this, like that someone's played this a few times and has probably come up with a way of doing it where it's not a complete write-off for the defender. But yeah, I don't know. Like there's enough other scenarios out there. Like as we discussed, there's a heap of ones that are from the Town Crier set. Just if you want, just substitute that with another. Like there's so many other things you can choose from. I almost can't be bothered trying to I can't be bothered trying to adjust that scenario to make it work. I'd rather just pick another scenario. I'd rather just go, well, there's like 50 other scenarios I could choose from that are in other places. I might as well just port one of those over into it and go, right, if you roll a 9 instead of surprise attack, instead you're getting this other one from Town Crier number 20 or whatever it is. So
sweet.
Yeah, because we've got a whole bunch of quite cool interesting other scenarios. Now, were these active in? Did you have these going in Castle? So Hunt the Heretic.
Yeah. The Caravan.
The Great Robbery. Oh, this is so cool. The Thing in the Woods. Oh,
Yeah.
can you hear about that? Oh no, I've got two of those. Okay.
Well, yeah, the reason don't close it.
Oh.
Close it. The reason you've got two is that
Yeah.
one of them outlines the scenario, and the other one gives you the stats for the thing in the woods.
This is the stats for the
Because you need
cool.
because you need to know what the thing in the woods actually does, because it's quite scary. But so I think there was maybe 5 different extra scenarios I used. Most of these came from Town Crier, which, for those who aren't familiar with that, Town Crier was essentially like kind of like the White Dwarf, but for specifically just for Mordheim. So it was like a magazine that I don't know, it was monthly, I'm guessing. I can't really remember because I never actually got the chance to buy a Town Crier when I was a kid. But I think you had to be subscribed to it or something. But basically, Town Crier was like a regular publication that they did that was just new scenarios for Mordheim, new warbands for Mordheim, a bunch of cool stuff that you could do, hobby stuff, blah, blah, blah. They did have some Mordheim articles in regular White Dwarf, but you'd only ever see back at this point in time when it was like the late 90s into the early 2000s, you might get like maybe one Mordheim article every 2 or 3 months with White Dwarf, whereas the Town Crier was like specifically dedicated to Mordheim. So these are mostly from Town Crier, and then there's the one called The Great Robbery I lifted from Broheim, which I think is just like a fan-made one because it doesn't have the same formatting or everything. So
it looks fan-made.
Yeah, but I will come back to that one because there was a specific region. There was a specific reason that I chose that one as well. So do we want
Which one would you like to hit first?
Oh, Cry of the Banshee.
Okay, Cry of the Banshee.
Yeah, this is one that I've known about for ages because this is the one that gave me the idea for like having some extra scenarios, because I can't remember where I came across this one, but I've known about this for years and years and years. Like even when I was a teenager, I always wanted to play.
Can I read the fluff for this?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
There is a rumor that the treasure of unimaginable wealth lies in the ruins of an old house. Unfortunately, it is also rumored that the treasure is guarded by an evil spirit whose howl is so terrible it will make you go mad. 2 rival warbands have heard about this house and have come to loot the treasure if they can.
Ooh,
That's awesome.
So the gist of this game is there's a building in the center of the board that has treasure in it, and there's a banshee guarding the treasure. And you are trying to take the treasure chest and be able to end the game with the treasure chest, but you're also trying to not have the banshee just completely wreak havoc on your warband in the process of it. So the banshee's a fun element because the banshee is it's inactive until somebody gets, I think, within a couple of inches of it, or maybe until someone touches the chest. No, I think it's 2 inches. If you scroll down, it should have that. Oh, there you go. Yeah,
because it's
until
is that foot or inch? I thought
that's inches, isn't it?
Inches.
No, inches is the double.
Oh,
I thought.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure inches is the double.
Well, maybe I've been playing it wrong. We just thought it was like within 2 inches. So as in someone goes up and tries to grab the treasure chest and the banshee goes, "Bah!" and starts. So it's quite possible. I mean, the way I played it was that, but maybe that was just me misinterpreting.
Yeah, it's like the 4x4. See, it's only got the one, the singular.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you are. So maybe
4x4.
Yeah. Okay. So that gives it some different context because this
is playing a banshee with terrible cataracts who can't see anything beyond 2 inches away from their face.
This situation means that the banshee is active from a much earlier point in the game. So I've actually gotten that wrong because when we played it, it was like I just assumed it was inches. So therefore, people would like get into the building and creep up to try and get the treasure chest, and then the banshee would like essentially wake up the second someone got close enough.
Which is kind of cool. Yeah. I can see the attraction of playing it like that too. Actually,
because you could. Which actually, I played it that way, and it was perfect. Like it didn't ruin the game.
Neutral. Like I can see.
It doesn't favor
like advantage anyone.
Because you can imagine if think about all those horror movies where like there's so many horror movies where a person is like in like a haunted house or something, and they're going around through rooms and they're like, I'll go here, and then all of a sudden the thing that like the thing that's in the place, or what the kind of the big nasty thing is quite often like it ends up being like kind of like right over them by the time they realize it's there. You know what I mean? So
it's always
I would
something to
love
do
it
with the
if you
treasure
had
too.
to
You're
roll.
right. There's some object you touch and that's it. Bang.
It'd be so cool if like you had that, you play as 2 inches, but rather than it being static, you had to roll like a d6 inches with a scatter dice each turn. And so like you're like creeping around and you're like, oh god, I hope she doesn't walk towards me. You know what I mean? Like she's a little sentry that's just slowly walking.
So I mean you could play this in any number of ways and it would still work. But the main thing with this one is the Banshee, I think, just moves towards the closest enemy model.
Yeah, so once she's activated, she starts just
she's kind of like
towards whoever's nearby. Yeah,
she's like an life force. She's an NPC, and it says here that you can have a third person be like the Banshee if you want. So like you could have a friend who's watching the game and they get to control the Banshee, which would be pretty fun. Or
than you just kite it around, sort of thing. Like
I mean, as long as you're following the rules for it, because the Banshee should be going towards the closest enemy, like the closest model. Now the key with the Banshee is, just like they do in actual Warhammer, the Banshee rolls, it has a shooting attack where you roll 2d6, you add 2, and then you minus the leadership of the model that it's targeting. And then it does that many wounds to that model. So you basically then have to roll. If you might roll, let's say
someone's the Old World.
It is. Let's say someone's leadership.
It's straight up Warhammer. Yeah,
it is. But the Banshees, I think the Banshee's been like that forever. Like even since back in like the 90s, the Banshee did the same thing. So
that's just how prevalent these screams are is the thing that changes over the years.
So anyway, but what's really crazy about that is, like, let's say you rolled an 8 on 2d6 and then added 2, so you're up to 10, and maybe you're screaming someone who's leadership 7. You're now rolling 3 times on the injury table for that model. Like, it's just because you've automatically wounded them. So you're just going like you could just take them out of action immediately. Like it's very good. The way to try and deal with the Banshee is you can't kill the Banshee with like a non-magical attack. However, the Banshee doesn't like the touch of steel. So like if you run up and attack the Banshee with like a sword, a dagger, an axe or something, the Banshee will automatically flee 3d6 inches away. But the fun bit is the person attacking the Banshee gets to choose which direction the Banshee goes. So the fun thing here is you can literally send the Banshee. You can send the Banshee directly at someone else's models. Like you could be like,
I love it.
Yeah, it's really fun. So when I played this, I was playing against a guy called Adam, and he had like this barbarian warband. I can't remember. It's not one of the like sort of official warbands, but it's like one of the ones that came later. It's like a kind of Norse barbarian warband, and he got to the thing first and activated the Banshee, and then he attacked the Banshee with some model that had like frenzy and had like double hand weapons. So like he had like 3 or 4 attacks. So he managed to hit the Banshee, and then he sent the Banshee straight at my warband. So then in my turn, I've got this Banshee like right in front of me, and the Banshee starts screaming at me, and then I've got to send someone in who can try and hit the Banshee and send it off in a different direction. So we're kind of ping-ponging the Banshee back and forth between our warbands, and the Banshee will get to a warband and then just scream someone and then like get. But then there's a lot of part of the reward here, and with all of these scenarios, if you have a look, I think with these town crier scenarios, they deliberately put in, to encourage people to play them, they put in quite a lot of extra like rewards. So you've got like
3 for vanquishing the Banshee.
So the warrior who vanquishes the Banshee, either killing it or driving it off the table. So when I played this scenario, my vampire, I realized I wasn't going to be able to get away from the Banshee. So I was like, well, I'm going to try and drive it off the table. So my vampire spent 3 turns like slashing at the Banshee and pushing it like deliberately. I was like, I'm just going to send it towards the table edge. Unfortunately, my opponent routed before I was able to actually get the Banshee off the table. Otherwise, that would have been like, because for a lot of models, 3+3 initiative is like pretty much going to be a level up. Like you just, that's going to get you to like the next level, which is pretty cool. But there's also like the warrior that has the treasure chest gets +2 experience. So there's a lot of experience up for grabs. And then if you have the treasure chest, you also gain the rewards for the treasure chest. So If you scroll up,
is
Josh,
that the same as? Oh, there's actually
there's
whoa.
heaps of stuff. So you roll again for like all of these things. You automatically get 5d6 gold crowns, which is awesome. And then you might get D3 shards of Weirdstone. You might get a holy relic.
Wow.
A suit of heavy armor, which is like heavy armor. Suit of heavy armor is like 50 gold crowns normally. So that's like really valuable. Yeah, you could get some gems. You could get an elven cloak, which is really hard to find normally. A holy tome and a magical artifact. So there's quite a lot of bonuses that you could get for like getting the treasure chest in this scenario.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so
that's really cool.
Quite fun.
And
so
the treasure chest itself, is that just so it's in the building central of the table, like?
Yeah, I think so.
So okay. You just
there
is a center building.
Yeah,
so it's a bit like that other scenario with the treasure, but it's in the center of the board. And you have to bring it to your table edge,
which makes
there's a Banshee in the board.
Yeah, which makes it fair because that way both warbands have to get to the center of the board to get the treasure. Yeah, so
I like it. But it's a consistent rule about the treasure in terms of who's carrying it. It uses basically the same rules as the other one, so it's easy to remember.
Yeah,
like it. The Banshee is such a fun element. I can see why you're a fan of this.
Yeah, I've as I said, I read this. Good. I read this somewhere years and years ago. I can't remember whether maybe someone had a Town Cry magazine, or maybe this one turned up in a White Dwarf. I'm not entirely sure, but I just had this memory. I was like, oh, it'd be really fun to have that as a scenario. And then I thought, well, why don't I just do a bunch of scenarios and people can kind of opt to play them or opt out if they don't want to play them, like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Frank did Josh, can you go back to the photos? Because there's a few photos.
Ooh, yes.
There's definitely there's Frank 3D printed this Banshee that's carrying its own head, and it's like pointing at somebody, and it's like holding its head.
I think I found it. Yeah. Hold on, you give me a moment.
That's cool.
14.
There's the Banshee, and it's guarding the treasure chest. So and we put it right on the top floor of a building. So like you had to get in the building and then like make your way up to the top floor, and then you had to get the treasure and then run. Yeah, that was that same. There you go. So you can see this barbarian runs in and like charges the Banshee. And
that's from your game, right?
Yeah, that was from the game. So that was
so good.
Yeah, it was great. And then like immediately I was in trouble because the Banshee straight away was like 3d6, like went straight towards my warband, and I was like, oh my god.
That's cool.
Yeah, I definitely had at least one dreg that like copped a scream from a Banshee and just died. He's just like like collapsed. Yeah. So all right, cool. So we had Cry the Banshee. There was that one. Hunt the Heretic.
The Heretic.
Yeah, this one was cool. To give you the gist of it, here we go. I'll read the little blurb. The rural provinces.
Empire in Flames?
Yeah, this is Empire in Flames. So to give people some background, the Empire in Flames was an expansion that came out maybe 2 or 3 years after the original Mordheim release. And the idea with Empire in Flames is that it's basically like playing games of Mordheim that are not directly set in the city of Mordheim. It's kind of like, oh, well, what if we were playing in like a little hamlet, or what if we were what if we were playing in one of the many unexplored forests of the Empire, or what if we were playing in like a kind of a secluded town that is like, so it's sort of creating, really it's just expanding on the narrative of it, right? Like it's kind of
same rule set but different. Like,
yeah. So you could basically play Mordheim but in like a forest if you wanted to, or in like a village, and like you have they even put rules in for like unruly villages, like, oh, we're fighting in a town and the villagers come out of their houses and fight you with pitchforks and shit like that. Like there's like lots of little fun things that go on in Empire in Flames. There's a whole thing about like I think there was even some extra warbands. There was like there's like a road warden or something. There was like a whole thing about like there was like a scenario where you have to go up like a kind of roadway and get like attacked by bandits and stuff like that. Like there's lots of cool stuff. But this one comes from the Empire in Flames. So it's the rural provinces of the Empire, like Stirland, are a haven for warlocks, necromancers, and other foul creatures. Too easily in the wild and untamed backwaters do dark deeds go unchecked and unchallenged. Such men are hunted, though, by men of courage and steel, those who would not sit idly whilst evil was being wrought. So essentially what it is you've got one warband has been hired to aid a witch hunter who has tracked down a nefarious warlock of some local repute. However, the warlock has allies of his own, and the hunt for his head won't be as straightforward as first supposed. So essentially this warlock has found out that a witch hunter is like on his tail, and he has some he gathers up a local warband to help him out, and then they ambush the other warband who are there with the witch hunter. So the witch hunter turns up thinking he's going to hunt down this warlock, and then they get ambushed, which is pretty cool. So pretty much I brought one of the guys that came up with us, Luke. He brought a model to use as the warlock, and I supplied the witch hunter from my witch hunter warband. And the idea is you basically have a fight with the idea that you're trying to like, if you with this one, you've kind of got to go like, okay, the warband that's a bit more the kind of good, maybe neutral or good neutral or good should have the witch hunter, and the warband that's maybe a bit more like evil leaning,
nefarious.
Like if it's
so good.
If it's a warband if it's a warband that should be up to no good, they would have the warlock. So you've got to be sensible about like who you're gonna like. The witch hunter isn't gonna help her.
A note about the Sisters Sigma in this. If you want to use Sisters Sigma in this scenario, they will fight for the warlock, not the witch hunter, having been duped and believing him to be some wandering hedge wizard wrongfully accused. A fact they're all too familiar with.
Because the witch hunters in the fluff of Mordheim, the witch hunters are constantly like accusing the Sisters of Sigma of like heresy, and like they're constantly there's a constant. In fact, there's that amazing. Do you guys remember the diorama, which was like saving Sister Joan or something like that? Do you know what I'm talking about? It won a golden demon. It was, if I'm correct, I could be wrong, but it was kind of one of the first times that anyone did light sourcing. You know the
OSL.
You gotta find this thing. Yeah, that's what I mean. Oh, can we? Sorry, I know this is a slight tangent, but we've got to find it. But this is why the Sisters of Sigma and the Witch Hunters don't get along. But let me find it. Hang on.
It'll make me look at it.
It's really cool. But basically, it's a witch hunter who's like captured a Sister of Sigma, and he's about to burn her on the stake, and the other sisters are coming in to rescue her. Here it is. It's called The Rescue of Sister Joan. See if you can find it and bring it up. It's amazing. But basically, you've got this one a golden demon. This ended up as like the diorama. I don't know if you can bring it up on the screen because like people might want to look at it. But it's the what is it? Other source lighting or whatever is just incredible the way that they've done it.
I'm just trying to find a big enough image of it that'll come up okay. I found it now, but all I can find are small PDFs, and I'm like, give me a big one. That's close enough. All right, I'll bring this one up. Hold on, just a moment. I'll have to stop sharing the PDF there.
It is cool.
That one. It is still kind of small, but oh, they're so detailed. They're so cool. Oh, hold on. There we go. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Sorry. There we go. Got there in the end. Not as smooth as Gombo. Gombo's a lot quicker at doing this kind of thing. He's got multiple screens. He's got a whole command system.
So you can sort of see where like they've done it so that obviously the torchlight is like illuminating that little area there, and then you've got these other Sisters of Sigma have come in, and you can see they've like basically dealt with a couple of like chumpy zealots who are like laying on the ground already, and the witch hunter is like sort of like it's like this standoff. It's so cool. It's so cool. So anyway, you can sort of get the vibe of like why witch hunters and Sisters of Sigma don't really get along. And this particular diorama sums it up. But anyway, so pretty much the idea with that scenario is like the warband with the witch hunter is trying to take out the warlock, and the warband with the warlock is trying to take out the witch hunter. And if you go through the photos there, Josh, you should find
yes,
you should find a few of them that are from that scenario. So we set up a scenario that looked like a bit of a kind of wooded village, like, and then there was the. So I just put the witch hunter and the warlock on that table, and then like people could then just use those with the warbands.
Wooded village. Right. Oh, okay. Hold on. 12. I think I've found it.
Yeah, and there's a picture at one point. There's a picture of like a warlock in the tower.
Is that the warlock?
No, that's my necromancer collecting a treasure chest. No, there was
very close. Warlock,
necromancer.
Anyway, you give me a lot of photos to sort through.
I apologize. Yeah, there's a really nice table.
I can find this.
Don't stress.
Okay,
it's on a.
Hold on. I'll try number 6.
That's the one. That's it.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's the warlock, and he's obviously in his little warlock tower there. But the idea is that he's kind of worked out that he's being tracked down by a witch hunter, so he's just kind of going to defend himself with a warband that he's managed to gather up together. So pretty cool.
I'm not sure. I don't know that I've got really. Maybe they're not in order. Is this also that table, or is that different table?
Oh, okay, same table. Yeah,
table. Yeah.
So that one was and you can see my witch hunter is in that photo there. You can see the witch hunter is like pointing his sword directly at the warlock, who looks like he's running away.
Yeah.
And that game, if I'm correct, I think that might have been Glenn with his Bretonians. Yeah, it was Glenn and Angus. So they were two of the guys that I was staying with. But Angus had his Cursed Cavalcade, which is that kind of really odd looking warband with some weird like war beasts in it. And then they were up against the Bretonians. Yeah. So that was really cool. And I think people enjoyed that one. A lot of people played that one. It seemed like that was one of the ones that was like quite regularly played. So
it looks awesome.
So essentially, the witch hunter and they just use the hired swords stats kind of thing. Are you just part of the warband?
Yeah, the warlock is a hired sword. That's one that is like there's already stats for it, and the witch hunter you just use the stats for a witch hunter captain. I think.
Oh, cool.
Just in the book as well. Okay. But the reward there is if the witch hunters warband win, they gain D6 times 15 gold crowns and D3 vials of blessed water. If the warlock's warband win, he concocts D3 doses of any poison or drug of their choice, which is cool because the poisons. The poisons are very expensive and hard to find. So, like, if you win the scenario, you get like some poisons or drugs that you can use, which is cool.
It is a cool way of adding, some unusual items just into the campaign.
Yeah. I sort of explained that. I explained that at the beginning of the event. I just said, guys, there's some pretty cool rewards for playing these scenarios. Like, there's some nice like advancements that you can get. So. Like you should try doing it.
Yeah.
The next one is the Caravan.
Caravan. Yep.
So this is basically where you set up. The gist of it is, here we go.
Wait, hold on.
Mordheim is a dark and cruel place. Yeah, Mordheim is a dark and cruel place where only the strongest survive. Most of the surviving inhabitants have already left the cursed city, although some of them, too weak, mutilated, or stupid, still remain amongst the ruins. This scenario represents the attempt at one such family to leave the city, or an attempt by a greedy merchant to escape from the city with all the goods he can carry. The small caravan consists of 3 wagons and is escorted by the Defenders warband. The Defenders may only be human mercenaries, witch hunters, Sisters of Sigmar, or Bretonians. Attackers can be any warband. Now, with this, I wasn't too
restriction.
Yeah, but I wasn't. To be honest, there's a lot of human warbands. Like there's a lot of like mercenaries. At the event we played, like I didn't really police this. I wasn't coming up and going, oh, you have to be this or you can't play that. Like I don't really care. But like I think there was enough human warbands that it would have been easy enough for them to like stick to the theme if they wanted. But pretty much one warband is trying to defend a like caravan of three carts that you set the board up with like 3 streets, so as if you're trying to kind of navigate down a few streets, and then the attackers are basically trying to loot any treasure or any kind of gear that they can find from the carts. So there's one there. You can see like the battle's happening in the middle, and the cart is there, and they're trying to get the cart through. Yep. And basically what can happen is like, if the attackers manage to loot the carts, they get a heap of gold, and there's also some other things like they can gain other advancements and stuff. The defenders actually do have the option of like quite literally changing their mind and deciding that they want to loot the carts.
What? Wait, what?
The defenders can quite literally go back on their word and just loot the carts themselves. So it says that here somewhere.
That's gold.
Why are you just?
But there's a downside to that where like it then affects it. If you do that, it then affects your. It kind of affects the warband's like trustworthiness for later games. So hang on, maybe go down. There's a bit more info on how that works.
Oh my god, there's another page. Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. So, banditry. The defender may treacherously attack the caravan he was hired to protect. In this case, the wagons still try to escape through the opponent's table edge, but are moved by the attacker. So you can kind of flip this game on its head and have like now the attacker's in charge of the wagons. For each wagon looted, the defender receives 3d6 gold crowns. If the defender deliberately attacks the caravan, then continue to play the scenario as a skirmish with normal route tests. In addition, the treacherous defender can never escort a caravan again in this campaign. So any other I think this is assuming that you're using like some of these, like, because this comes from like one of the expansions. So I think it must be from like a series of town criers, or it might even be from Empire in Flames. I can't really remember, but the idea is that like, when there are similar objectives in play at like a later point in the campaign, the defender is now deemed like too untrustworthy and can't do it. So but there are some bonuses for stuff.
But then they also get a modifier if you're a traitorous defender.
If you're trying to
get rare items for a while.
I think the idea is that when they go to like the market to try and like source some items, people don't want to do business with them. That's the idea. So everyone's like, oh, we're not going to sell you anything because you're so it's funny. So there are downsides. If you choose to just loot the wagons, you could potentially cause yourself some problems.
That's the whole thing at the end. This is the whole thing about how to build the caravans and do the
there's even like modeling advice of like how they made the little drivers for the caravans and stuff. It's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
But you could quite easily play this game you could do some fun stuff if you wanted to. Like if you don't have to follow it exactly. Like you could model up like an undead caravan where like it's a wraith or a zombie driving it, or the black coach model, right? The black coach. You could be like, okay, instead of a caravan of three like wagons, it's like here's a coach that's carrying a vampire who's like sleeping in the coffin, and the coach is trying to like escort this vampire out of the city, and the undead warband is shambling along trying to defend it, but like the sisters of Sigmar have found out about this vampire and they're going to come in and try and like destroy stake the vampire, like whatever it is. But like you could come up with any alternative way of doing this if you wanted to. But you get the idea. It's
so the looting, it's like 3 wounds on the wagon, tough 4, and you kind of just got to take all the wounds off it as you take out your loot. Okay. Oh, that's that's fun.
So that's just a fun thing.
Cool.
Once again, you do need the models to do this, and Frank had modeled up these things for like Warhammer Skirmish, so like we had access to it, but it wouldn't be that hard to just 3D print a little wagon type of thing. It'd be a pretty
there's loads of wagons.
Even if it wasn't a 3D print, there'd have to be there'd be plenty of manufacturers that make little wagon models anyway, right? So
Yeah.
even if it was like a historical,
even Napoleonic type stuff would be totally appropriate. Yeah,
as long as the scale is right, like as long as it's like that kind of 28 mil scale, it should be fine. So any questions? Or I reckon that one was fun. I'm glad we had that one in there. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What have we got?
The Great Robbery.
Great
so
Robbery.
there's a couple of specific photos you want to look at. The reason I chose this scenario was very specific because a guy that was coming along, I think his name was Tom. He goes, I've actually got a ship, like a model for a ship, and I'd love to bring it along to the event. And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds really cool. And Luke, who is one of the guys that was staying with us, he brought his terrain along, and I knew that I've played with him and using his terrain before. His terrain is themed like a dock. Like it's like a dock. Yes, there we go. His terrain is specifically meant to be like a dock theme. And the idea was when this guy was like, oh, I'm going to bring a ship, I was like, there must be a scenario where we can utilize the ship and the dock and the whole thing. So I came across this one, which I think is a fan-made one. The gist of it is there's a warband that's trying to smuggle a chest, like a chest with some valuable bits and pieces. They're trying to smuggle it from within the city. They're trying to get it onto this ship and then sail off down the river. And the idea is you've got to. It's crazy. This one's fun because the idea is the ship comes on the board. I think it's from the beginning of turn 3. You have to roll to see if the ship like appears.
Oh, so the ship moves around. It's not just sitting there on the board.
No, the ship is essentially sailing along the river, and you have to like if you're the warband with the chest, you have to basically get onto the dock and board the ship and then sail off up the river. And the other warband has to start at the opposite corner and run across the board and try and intercept you and like steal the treasure chest. And one of the fun elements of this is the ship itself, because the ship doesn't start on the board. Scroll back up. I think there's a thing here about when the ship comes on the board. Here we go. Deployment. After the third turn, the ship is called La Lucernia. So La Lucernia will arrive on a roll of a 4+ on a D6. It should be deployed on the table edge waterfront in the opposite corner from like where the defenders are. But then the ship each turn is moved by the defender. So the player who's trying to escape, you can move the ship anywhere between 1 inch and 8 inches. So you don't have to move the ship its full distance if you don't want to, but you can't opt not to move it, and you can't move the ship backwards because the ship is just sailing up the river. So you have to time it. Like if you just move your full distance every turn, the ship might reach the other end of the board before the guys can get the treasure chest off there.
Yeah.
But if you're too slow and if the ship only moves 1 inch every turn and you're too slow, your warband might be sitting there waiting for it and just being attacked. So you're trying to get like the perfect timing for the ship to arrive while the warband is there. So I played Frank. Me and Frank played off in this one, and he got pretty close. He got like right up to like where the dock was, and then I had like a horde of zombies very slowly like making their way up the board. But there was a picture from this of like my vampire and my direwolf basically running up the side of the board and like intercepting them. So I managed to like the vampire and the direwolf were like the only two fast things I had in the warband, and the rest of it was like movement 4. There we go. So so that's my vampire and direwolf. They both, you can see here they managed to intercept. They legged it across and managed to intercept his warband. And you can see the treasure chest there being held by 2 guys. And
cool.
Yeah, so those 2 guys are like grimly defending that. He had 2 dudes both fighting my warlock, because by this point I'd hired a warlock for my warband. And then these 2 guys were hiding behind them he was basically hoping to like run them around the side and like get it off onto the dock. But then I ended up managing to sort of mob him with zombies and stuff. So you can see like, you can see this big combat happen with like half of his warband versus half of my warband. And slowly I was able to get more guys into the combat. And then if you keep going, there was a rather amusing situation where my zombie, so he had 3 crossbowmen up in a tower, and these zombies can't march or they can't run, so you can only move them 4 inches at a time, and unless you declare a charge. And then this zombie like charged up this gangplank after like about 8 turns of like slowly shambling around the board. And he charges up the gangplank and then like fails to do anything. And then a crossbowman just kicks him off the building. So if you go to the next one, the zombie just meets his demise. He like falls off the tower, like just got taken out of action and just met his demise on the ground.
Yeah.
That was one of the highlights of that game. God. Is like sort of the crossbowman basically just goes nut and like just kicks him off. It's
just kicks him off the ledge.
Yeah. So and zombies are initiative 1. So if you force them to take an initiative test, they almost always fail. So So anyway, that was quite fun. But so anyway, that was that one. The one thing I did change with this, because Frank and Luke played a game with this right on, like, I think the first game they played in the whole event was this, and they kind of realized that like not having the option to route was a bit of a problem, because it does say in here like you're not even allowed to voluntarily route. And I think that's a little bit harsh, because the defender's kind of up against it, trying to get the treasure chest off onto the ship anyway. So I basically ended up coming over with a marker pen and crossing out that bit and just saying, like you can voluntarily route.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, greed is a powerful motivator. No route tests are taken. If a player wishes to leave, if a player wishes to leave combat, it must do so. It must do so by moving each model to the table edge. So it's kind of a little bit harsh. So I was like, if you've had like your warband like decimated, you might as well be able to like voluntarily route. So but I mean, we did have the only other thing that probably could be changed on this was that some guys who played this like on the second day, they never rolled the 4+ for the ship to come. Like the ship, they kept rolling 1 to 3, and the ship never turned up. so this guy's got his models waiting at the dock with the treasure chest, and the ship never turned up at all.
Thematic.
It is, but to me, that part of me was like, maybe we should make it so that like the next turn it's like on a 3+ and then it's on a 2+. But the other part of me was like, now I want to have a scenario where like we need to explain why the ship didn't turn up, because they're like further off down the river, the ship got boarded by like some bandits or something, and now there was like, or the ship turns up later on, but it's crewed by a completely different, like it's crewed by some people that shouldn't be there or something. So there's different things you could do, but I
absolutely have fun with that.
But to me, to be honest with you, if you look at the pictures of that, like that was my favorite of all the like optional scenarios. That one was my favorite one. I just thought there was like super thematic, like this kind of race to the docks. And it helps that the terrain was amazing, and like look at that. That was so cool.
That's quality.
See, Josh, you could have been playing Mordheim on this terrain, mate, but you were playing Old World instead. So
torn.
Yeah. So there was that, and then we had
the last one,
the thing in the woods.
The thing in the woods. I've been waiting for this one.
They're the best till last.
Yeah. So this one is kind of famous because, once again, I've known about this scenario for ages, and I think maybe this one was up on the Games Workshop website back in the day. Like I think some of these ended up on the website, and you could just like download them for free. But essentially, they created a model for this. There was a model for the.
I used to have this model.
Did you? It's like
back in the day.
It's not a very good model, in my opinion. It's a bit like
not. I saw it.
Yeah. So essentially, the gist of this one is this is another one of these ones from the Empire in Flames.
Yeah.
The expansion. So you're basically sort of in like a wooded area, and there's a werewolf that like lives in this area, a Beowulf they call it. And the idea is you've got to fight the other warband, but also try and deal with this werewolf at the same time. And you have one werewolf on the table per warband. So like in a 2-player game, of course, you're going to have 2 werewolves.
Right.
Now, I don't know if I sent you any pictures for the thing in the woods. but like I couldn't even find any on my phone, so I'm not quite sure whether I got enough pictures. I thought I did get some pictures of it, but Frank did up these 2 creatures and painted them up, and they were really cool. And yeah, pretty much one of the things on the bingo card was that like to try and kill the thing in the woods. And I only think one person achieved it, and that was Dono or Andrew from Canberra. Andrew Hollis was the only one that managed to kill it. He threw his entire warband at it, and there was like a. I went over and had a look at it. It was like the thing in the woods was there with like 8 models surrounding it, all just like beating it up. but if you look at its stats, you can see why.
Tough 5,
strength 5.
Tough 5, it's so dangerous too. Yeah.
And if you look at all the stuff it can do, so it causes fear. So a lot of the time, people are going to fail fear tests and not be able to charge it. Then you've got this thing forged by chaos. So at the start of each of its turns on a D6, the Beowulf roll a D6 if the Beowulf is already wounded. On a roll of a 5+, a wound is restored.
Oh.
So like it can keep healing its wounds
type stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then flesh of iron. The Beowulf skin is thicker than toughened leather, wholly capable of turning aside blades and arrows alike. Basically, it has a 4+ save that can't be modified by the strength of the attack. Which is like,
wow.
Yeah. Wow. So like it kind of has like
does that mean like axes and gunpowder still?
Yes. Yes.
So
yeah. So So, and then it's got this thing called Vicious Jaws. So it has 2 attacks on its profile, but it has like an extra attack with the Vicious Jaws. So,
like a lizard.
Yeah, sort of. But it's like the first attack that it makes is this Jaws attack. If this attack hits, it causes a critical hit on a 5 or 6. So it's like really good.
Terrifying.
Yeah. Now, the fun bit, or like, I mean, it's already kind of fun because you're like, oh my God, how am I going to deal with this creature? And I think that there's some rules around, we won't go into every detail here, but essentially the creature just wanders around at random until it sees you. And because you're in a wooded area, the wood areas are kind of the same as what they are in 6th edition, where you can only see like 2 inches into a wood.
Oh yeah.
So if the Beowulf is like sort of hanging around in like a wooded area, it can't really be seen until it sort of gets to the edge of the wood. So it kind of just wanders around at random until someone gets close enough or until it sees you, and then all hell breaks loose basically, and you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
How does it move? Is it just like scatter and D6 or something?
36 in the round directions. So yeah, I guess yes.
3D6.
2D6. Yeah. So it's like an NPC sort of a thing. But then if you go back to its stats, I'll show you this funny rule. Basically, the thing in the woods can like, okay, so I'll just read it. The blood of the Beowulf contains a terrible and powerful curse. Any model taken out of action from an attack from the Beowulf risks the taint of its dark blood. Note this only affects man-sized creatures and non-mutants. After the battle, if the model survives the attack, roll a d6. On the roll of a 6, any injuries the model is currently suffering are cured, but it is now cursed. So you end up having like a werewolf curse now. In each subsequent battle, whenever the cursed model is wounded, they must take a leadership test. If they fail, they transform horrifically before the eyes of their comrades into the Beowulf. The model now has the same stat line as the Beowulf. any armor or equipment it was wearing is destroyed, and any weapons the model was carrying are lost, but that may be recovered after the battle. The Beowulf will always charge the nearest model, friend or foe, if it can. Otherwise, it will move it at max speed towards them. It may try and restrain itself from attacking a comrade by taking a test against its own leadership. If passed, the Beowulf will ignore friendly models. Roll a d6 after. So basically what it's saying is, if your model is taken out of action by the Beowulf, like when you're fighting it, at the end of the battle, you roll a d6. On a 6, you're now cursed by the Beowulf. The good part of that is that any wounds that you've got, like, oh, I've got a hand injury, or I've got a leg, I've got a smashed leg, or I've got a blind eye, that's all healed. But potentially you could turn into a werewolf in your next game, basically. And then what's really funny about this is, like, at the end, when that has happened, Roll a d6 at the end of that battle. On the roll of 2 to 6, the model returns to normal, albeit without attire, so without the clothes, but still carries the curse. On the roll of a 1, the Beowulf takes hold completely, and in its feral state, it disappears into the wilderness, lost forever. And you remove them from the roster. So this for me was like, I couldn't not have this scenario because I read this. It was like, this is just so funny. Like, you could have a model that like essentially gets taken out by the Beowulf, becomes a werewolf itself, and then later on just like runs off into the wilderness and is never seen again. It's so good. And the best thing that happened was someone was playing a Night Goblin warband, and a squig got taken out of action by the Beowulf, and we ended up with a were-squig. The were-squig.
That's so good.
But we had a thing where, like, what was it? It was someone had a Sister of Sigmar, I think, that ended up like someone played this scenario and then like had a model that got tainted. And then in the next game, they played the one where it was the ship one, the Great Robbery that we just talked about.
Yeah.
And like one of the warband then just became a werewolf mid battle and just started like tearing into everybody. It's so cool. So yeah, this one's great as part of like you've got to play this as part of a campaign because you're then gonna see the funny stuff happening like later on. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I love the idea of like I love the idea of like every so often this model is like starts like itching and is like and like just becomes a werewolf and like just, like completely loses the plot and just starts like killing people. Oh man,
I love it. It just happens, but it only happens when they get wounded, right? So they get taken out of action in another game. So it's almost like you just throw him up, and if he dies, you go, "Oh well, I'll see if he fails his leadership."
Yeah. You kind of want, you basically would send this model up in like a suicidal attack and be like, "Right, fight me," and then like if someone's like, "All right, well, like I hit you with a sword," like hit, wound, and then you're like, "Failed leadership test." Oh yeah, so this was cool, and there was some really funny things that happened. Like I think quite a few people attempted to kill the Beowulf because they were like, "Oh, it's on the bingo card. I've got to try and do it." Yeah. And you had people just throwing their whole warband at it to try and kill it. So yeah, I did say to people at the beginning, I was like, if you're going to try and kill the thing in the woods, maybe try it on day 2, where you've like already got a bit of experience behind you and like you've maybe got some like. Because if you try and do it at the very beginning of the event, your warband's not going to be strong enough. So like you need to probably have a stronger warband to do it. But I could also imagine, I was talking about like doing like a mini game, like a kind of labyrinth style game, like on the Saturday evening. You could have like the thing in the woods be in that, like have that as like the kind of boss that you have to beat to win the game or something like that. Like that could be quite a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was a few other scenarios that I had ideas about. There was a couple that like I was actually going to have, but then I got all of these printed at Officeworks, and then when I got to the event, a couple of my printouts went missing and I couldn't find where they were. So like on each table, I just put a printout of like what the scenario rules were. So like people, literally what we're reading now is on the table. So people could go on
so much easier.
Yeah. So like, I was like, well, there's no point in doing these scenarios and then making it hard for people to, you have to go into Broheim to find it. So literally on the table, here's the printout. You're good to go. Right. And here's the models that you need to play. Like, okay, here's the Beowulf. It's there. Like, here's the witch hunter that you need for this one. So the idea was like, it was just super easy. It was all there. You just pick up and play with it. But there were a couple of other ones where like, I thought I printed them. I'm absolutely certain I printed them because I went through them all. And then on the weekend, like when I was there, it's like, I must've misplaced them or put like, I don't know, but basically some of the printouts weren't there. So there was a couple of other scenarios that I just didn't end up doing in the end because I just didn't have the printouts for some reason. So like, anyway.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Although those are really cool though. And it was nice to see like get a good cross section of some of the more popular and almost legendary sounding sort of Mordheim really themey scenarios more than just the book ones, because some of those just look really fun. The Banshee
really
ones
are
so cool.
Man, I'm telling you right now, like if you're a I guess a Mordheim enthusiast, jump onto Broheim and have a look. There's a link at the top that says scenarios. If you bring it up on the screen now, if you want, Josh, you'll see there's a huge, like a complete treasure trove of different scenarios that you can get from there. There's like Town Crier ones. There's fan made ones. There's ones from White Dwarf. There's like everything. It's amazing. There's so much you can do. And if you want to just have more fun, here we go. Scenarios. Look at that. And a lot of them are themed. Like a lot of them are themed around certain. Yeah. So you've got from different magazines.
I get. So the thing is, though, Alex.
Yes.
This is like when you're standing in the supermarket at the shampoo aisle, and you're like, I have no idea. So the good thing with what we're doing tonight is, you're picking a few of the really cool ones. You're like, oh yeah, it makes it accessible, because this is an overwhelmingly long list.
That is long.
Oh look,
where do you start?
Yeah.
How do you start?
But to be honest, though, some of those are themed around. For example, with the Town Crier stuff, they did a bunch of scenarios that were themed with like Khemri. So it'd be like you could play a game of Mordheim, which is based around like, oh, we're in the land of Khemri, and where you've got ones that's like, think of the Mummy, the movie The Mummy.
Yeah.
There's scenarios where it's like, oh, we're trying to rob a tomb that's got like an old some old tomb, and then like the Khemrian guards all appear and start trying to fight us and stuff. Like there's all these. So some of them are themed around like if you had a lot of like Khemrian terrain, then you would why not play a scenario that's like, so that there you go, Khemri, Land of the Dead.
Cool.
There's other ones that are themed around like the jungle. I think there's even like a Lustria one where it's like here's a bunch of scenarios that are like, if you want to play with like jungle terrain and like Aztec. Awesome. And there's like dwarven, there's like dwarven
kind of temples and stuff, like Lustrian temples. Like that'd be
Yeah. So some of this is definitely dependent on like what terrain you've got. If you've got terrain that's like really themed around a certain thing, why not pick out like a wagon train
taking a warrior to his wedding. What the fuck?
There's some really funny ones. There's ones where like you're in a graveyard and like zombies start popping up out of like graves and like shambling around, and there's like a wraith that tries to fight you as well. And like I was very tempted to do that one. I was like, I'm gonna have to paint a whole bunch of more zombies for this. So I just didn't get around to doing that. But the Lost Prince, that was one of the ones that I was going to do, the Lost Prince, and the printout disappeared. But it's basically there's like a merchant's son. A merchant's son has ended up lost in Mordheim, and you have to like the merchant has paid you to go in and like retrieve him. And like two warbands are being paid by the same merchant, so they're like, no, he's our prize. And like so this guy's like wandering around like scared to death, like in Mordheim, and like you're trying to like bring him back home, but the two warbands start killing each other because they both want the rewards. So it's and then you can see there's a whole thing. There's a table of like the rewards that you get from the merchant at the end and stuff if you can rescue the son. So,
of course.
Anyway, I would have. We had the model for that, and we had for some reason the printout disappeared on me. So, anyway,
interestingly, they suggest a table size of 4x6 for that scenario.
That is big.
Yeah, that is big. I don't think you need to. I don't know.
Is that
why.
Required? Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. I mean,
see that.
We were just going to play it as the normal 4x4 anyway. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, makes sense.
Take a bit of creative license with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get the vibe, right? Like if you already play Mordheim regularly, like why not muck around with these other scenarios? Or if you wanted to create a campaign.
That's named Minute.
Yeah, so the other thing is like create a campaign and like pick out specific scenarios and make it like a linked campaign where each scenario is like linked to the one before it, So there's a lot you can do.
Yeah.
And I think it just shows the depth of it. You got like a stagecoach ambush. I've played that one before. You got the thing in the woods.
So much. It is so deep. Yeah. And I guess the more you look at it, you go, oh, okay, it's actually really quite interesting, you know.
The
longer
frenzied
time
mob.
you spend to actually sort through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
really cool.
so many of them have got like a really interesting like bit of flavor. Like you can Mordheim's all about storytelling. It really is the game of it's just everything you're doing in this game is just storytelling. And you know, playing these scenarios just adds that extra layer to the whole thing. And you know what? If you just want to play the scenarios out of the rulebook, they're great too, right? Apart from that stupid scenario 9. apart from the scenario which we will not speak of, the rest of them are good.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
that's cool. That's cool. I think we should really wrap this up.
Yeah,
Alex, it's
sorry.
pretty late.
I'm sorry. I've done it
No,
again.
that was awesome. Not at all. Like I wanted to go through all those scenarios, and we just had a lot to get through, but it was really cool. I think that was actually a really good episode. Just taking
It was.
getting through all that.
Well, I hope you guys had some fun with it. And that was
great.
I definitely had fun running the event. I definitely had fun, getting to talk with you guys about it. So I'm already signed up to go down to Canberra for the Mordheim Australis one next year, which I think Andrew Hollis is saying there's going to be I think he's had 80 people are going to be I think he's already got
Wow.
He said he's already got 60 people are signed up and paid, and there was another 15 to 20 that are have registered their interest but haven't paid yet. So there's still maybe a little bit of wiggle room on who's coming and who's not. But it sounds like he's hoping to get around 80 players. Josh, are you coming to that, or are you sort of uncertain of your commitments for that?
I don't know what I'm doing, Alex. I must admit, I'm really enjoying the 1.5, the old world. It's very hard for me to resist it at the moment. I'm in both, but I can't play more than one event again. That was just really terrible.
That was ridiculous. That was hilarious that you did that.
Neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say I'm more likely to play 1.5, I reckon. But I don't know. It depends. Yeah, we'll see.
See what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yes. But this looks so good. Really, I just love the theme. I love the story you get from it. Oh,
it is awesome.
And I know at Australis, they're playing in that beautiful club. It's so much nicer than the big sheds
with a bar.
And
air conditioning.
Yeah.
But oh well, look, I mean, if you guys decide to do that, Andrew, hopefully you'll get a chance to play a few games of Mordheim, and who knows, maybe you'll turn up at an event soon. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I'll be lucky to be playing anything with my renovations once they kick in. I'm still waiting. I'm a month and a half behind. Bloody council. But once that's in,
do you think you'll be able to make it to CanCon?
I highly doubt it.
You highly doubt it? Oh, damn.
No.
Nah. The scale of the renovation is quite large, and I am owner builder, which kind of means I need to be on site.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Not just to sit there for 3 days.
You can't really dodge. Yeah, you can't really dodge your own building job on your own house.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Let's wrap this up there. I'm not sure if Gommo had an outro for this episode. I can't find an outro in the run sheet. So
that's all right.
I think we'll just wrap it up, guys.
Just sing it, Josh. Just sing it.
Thanks for coming on, Alex.
No worries, guys. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Really cool episode. And I hope everyone enjoyed us going right through the scenarios in a lot of depth. We've got some, I think we've got some more episodes in my head. I want to look at Empire and Flames later. Some of the other sort of optional rules around mountain stuff would be cool to look at. And also just long term, how running campaigns and that type of thing, and just the ins and outs of how that all works too would be cool. But yeah, all right. let's wrap it up. Thanks, guys, for coming on.
See you, fellas.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Ciao.
Right. Yep. End stream.